Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 161-180. Chapter 0161 Akainu who died 33 times in a row. It's impossible. Akainu yelled, trying to break free with all his strength, but in vain. The sky is no longer blue sky and white clouds, but blood color, the atmosphere is dark and strange, and the huge blood moon hangs high above the head. Akainu was tied to a wooden frame, completely immobile, he couldn't even fluidize. What have you done to me? After the initial shock, Akainu quickly regained his composure, finding that the blade that had pierced his body had disappeared, and there were no wounds anywhere. Where is this? This is the monthly reading space. Chinyang stood in front of Akainu, his right hand VV opened, and suddenly a sharp sword appeared in his palm. In the world of Yudu, whether it is time, quality, etc., everything is completely controlled by me, the caster. For example, your current pain sensation has been strengthened by me 5 times. He spoke. Chinyang slowly stabbed the sharp blade into Akainu's chest. Ah! Akainu let out a scream, and then forcibly endured it. He stared at Chinyang and said word by word, "You bastard. Is this an attack that directly affects the soul? 15 inches it's okay if you think so." Chinyang's face was calm, and when he turned his hands, another long sword appeared. "Tell me, what is your purpose here? If it is to deal with the Lich King, and only send 1 admiral and 3 warships, is this a joke?" Wait. Akainu was furious. If he hadn't had a mission, if he hadn't been unable to move at the moment, he would definitely kill the person in front of him. Say. Chinyang was too lazy to talk nonsense, and stabbed the sword again. This time, it was the kidney. Akainu's face turned pale, and he actually resisted without screaming. He said in a low voice, "You dreamed of destroying the Big Mom pirate group. Cake Island has become Iceland, and the situation is exactly the same as the deep-sea prison." "How is it?" Chinyang said softly, "Your intelligence capabilities are very good. It's only been a few days before you came to the door. What? Your headquarters wants to fight us?" Before, when Sea Dragon was still 4-star, Chinyang was not afraid, but now that Sea Dragon is 5-star, and Illusory God is turned on, he is even less afraid. "No," Akainu grunted, "Marshal Sengoku wants to have a serious talk with you. It's not the Shadow Demon, it's your captain." "What do Marine and pirates have to talk about?" Chinyang raised his eyebrows, unmoved. "You killed a group of the 4 Emperor's pirates. From now on, the Big Mom Sea area will be in chaos. The dozens of countries that were originally sheltered by her 4 emperors, prestige are now open to all pirates in the New World. After the gate is opened, do you think the big pirates in the chaotic sea area of the New World will leave this cake untouched?" "See. You talk a lot. At 7 equals. Chinyang turned his hand and pierced Akainu's heart with a sword. "Huh. 7W. Suddenly, Akainu widened his eyes, opened his mouth, and vomited blood with a wow. "You bastard." He opened his mouth, became confused, and after a while, died. After an unknown time, Akainu woke up, and Vivi opened his eyes, and what he saw was still those terrifying eyes. "I'm not dead." Akainu was shocked, and he found again that his wound had disappeared. "The 33rd time." Chinyang said with a little compliment. As expected of Marine Admiral, he died 33 times in a row without breaking down. "What did you say?" Akainu looked horrified. He didn't have this part of the memory, he only remembered that he had indeed been stabbed through the heart. "Don't think about it, you can guarantee that the memory is not cluttered, and you still want to recall it." Chinyang said with a low smile. "I said, everything in the Yudu space is under my control, and so is your life and death." Between words, Chinyang went on to experiment. He was very curious about how long Akainu could last. He had already died 33 times, and a normal person could collapse 4 or 5 times, but this person was still sane. "Wait for me." Seeing that the sharp blade stabbed again, Akainu said quickly, "About what I said before, Sengoku wants to talk to your captain." We don't know why you dream to collect so many devil fruits, but if there is no special fruit type requirement, Marine can provide you with some. Quote. Oh. Chin Yong paused, and the sharp blade hovered in front of Akainu's chest. This is a bit interesting. Marine gave the pirates devil fruits. Ha 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 ha, is Sengoku crazy? Humph. A cold snort, Akainu said. The new world is about to run wild, and all the pirates will come out to make waves. For this, the Marine headquarters needs external help to stabilize the situation. So, to put it simply, do you want to cooperate with us to exterminate pirates? Chin Yong chuckled lightly, shook his head and said, the nine-tailed demon fox joined Shichibukai before, and you both took away the title for no reason. Now you still have the face to ask for cooperation. What is no reason? Obviously, you were the first to attack the deep-sea prison, and also killed the prison director King Python. Akainu gritted his teeth, but held back. Yes, I will tell the Lord Chin Emperor. As for whether to reach a cooperation, it depends on your sincerity. Chin Yong put away his weapon and turned to leave. With one step, the Yudu world collapsed. Huh. On the deck of the warship, Akainu suddenly covered his heart and groaned in pain. His face was pale and he was dripping with cold sweat. With a thud, he fell to one knee, and the whole Vivi gasped. Akainu Admiral. A lieutenant colonel turned pale in shock, and looked at each other carefully. Admiral Akainu looked like he was about to die. What have you done to Admiral? The colonel glared at Chin Yong, suddenly pulled out the gun from his waist, pointed at Chin Yong, and looked alert. Better put away your gun or you'll just kill yourself. Akainu, who was pale, and said in a low voice. There are 33 consecutive deaths of 483. At the moment of leaving the reading space, all the damage will be superimposed and exploded in an instant. In this way, you have not collapsed. I have to say that your willpower is really amazing. This, Akainu's face was not very good, and he was a little weak. In the monthly reading space, he spent at least 3 days and 3 nights. However, in reality, there was only a moment. The mental damage accumulated in those 3 days and 3 nights broke out at the same moment. He was able to hold on without lying down. It's ironclad. Cory, put the gun down. Taking a deep breath, Akainu whispered, then looked up at Uchiha Itachi. Bring what you said earlier to your captain. He. Chin Yong laughed twice, suddenly turned sideways and looked at the sea dragon circling behind him. Lord Chin, he said so. Lord Chin. Hearing this sensitive name suddenly, Akainu was shaken and looked up dumbly. Above the dragon head, the young man with a long sword on his waist looked down at Akainu with a blank expression. This emperor already knows. Let Sengoku come to see him. With a wave of his hand, Heilong turned his direction, and then a light voice came over. Itachi, you are here watching them. Yes. The two sang a double read that no one knew about. Akainu fell into a sluggishness. He stared blankly at the man who rode away on the dragon. For a moment, he fell into a stupor. He's the captain, Chin. He roared frantically in his heart. Chapter 0162-Fire Escape How Fireball Technique. The first update it's almost New Year's Eve. I have a toothache, so sad TT ask for some automatic comfort hollow square Akainu is not a fool, and if he doesn't understand this, he won't climb to Admiral's position. Looking at Chin Yong who was drifting away, Akainu's face was uncertain. Just catch this captain, and the dream problem can be solved. At present, Marine really has nothing to do with this group of lunatics. The strength is too strong, and the members are mysterious, but if they catch their captain, they can force the other party to submit. However, this is just thinking. Akainu watched Chin Yong leave deeply, and did not choose to shoot. He has self-knowledge, and he can't beat him alone. Besides, there is also a sea dragon and an unknown Uchiha Itachi. At this time, Chin Yong distracted and controlled Uchiha Itachi, and said, "Didn't you hear what our captain said? Let Sengoku come here to discuss in person." This, Akainu's face sank and he gritted his teeth. what a joke. How could Marshall Marine risk coming to such a place? It's really boring. I don't even dare to do this. What kind of cooperation are we talking about? Chin Young shook his head and said, We Dream has always been very particular about credibility. Believe you are idiots. Akainu snorted coldly, but didn't bother to play tricks, took the phone bug and started to contact Marine headquarters. At the same time, Chin Yang's body returned to Undead Island. He stood on top of the dragon head, hesitated for a moment, waved his hand, and shot out frost. The power of frost condensed an ice sculpture at his feet, turning into the appearance of the Lich King. A 1-star phantom god can control 10-star clones at the same time, 5-star sea dragon, 2-star Uchiha Itachi, 3-star Lich King, exactly 10-star. A Luffy galloped, and 5 minutes later, the sea dragon descended in front of the castle on the top of the mountain. After leaving for a month, the old castle that was originally abandoned has now been renovated and looks more stylish. The sea dragon fell from the sky and immediately attracted the attention of the people in the house, and the bald man rushed out quickly. Lord Lich King, Lord Sea Dragon. He recognized the Lich King, and although he had never seen Sea Dragon, he had heard of it. As for the third person, the bald man looked suspicious. With a slight leap, Chin Yong and the Lich King jumped down from the dragon head together. Varian, how is the situation here? The Lich King asked. Of course, Chin Yong was controlling it. He was not distracted, and his transformation only possessed the fighting instinct, which was similar to the hang-up battle in the previous game, without the ability to speak. Therefore, as long as he turns into an open mouth, it must be Chin Yong who is in control. Hearing this, the bald man immediately said, Lord Lich King, everything is ready here. After you left, Doflamingo quickly sent supplies, and with the help of the undead, he has now dug out a piece of the mountain under his feet. The base, the infrastructure inside has also been built. Quote, Take me to the lab. The Lich King nodded and said, This is our captain, Emperor Qin. Captain. The bald man was shocked and looked at Chin Yang's body in disbelief. This young man is the mysterious dream captain. If it wasn't for what the Lich King said, he would not have believed it at all. Lord Qin, Emperor Qin, the bald man couldn't help but feel a little frightened and was deterred by his prestige. Lead the way, Chin Yang said calmly, walking towards the castle first. Yes. The bald man shuddered and hurriedly walked ahead to lead the way. After entering the castle, he led Chin Yang into a basement. In the basement, there was a staircase leading to the ground. Not long after, a group of people came to the laboratory. I have to say that the preparations here are well done, and all kinds of scientific research equipment are complete. The only scientist under Dream's command, Caesar, is standing in front of a test bed, performing an operation on the corpse of a beast. Who? Probably hearing footsteps, Caesar turned around in dissatisfaction, and the moment he saw the Lich King, his breathing stopped for a moment. You're back so soon, he exclaimed. How was the experiment? Asked the Lich King, his voice low. This wait, artificial zone devil fruit is not an easy task. I just have a clue, I need a zone fruit for experiments, otherwise it will be difficult to make progress. Caesar said quickly, seeing that the Lich King didn't seem to be angry, and even heaved a sigh of relief. Hey la la la, in fact, this experiment is very interesting. The reason why devil fruit has supernatural power is because the fruit contains some kind of strange substance, which can change human genes. Tenryubido's chip is based on this, manufactured on principle. Quote. Chip. It was the body that spoke. Chin Yang raised his eyebrows and asked. Caesar didn't know who it was, but he didn't ask, and answered directly, I don't know the specifics, but there is a special chip in Tenryubido's body, and this chip is the key to guaranteeing Tenryubido's absolute power. I am from what I see in the documents of Marine's headquarters is only a few words. Stop talking nonsense, when will the results come out? The Lich King waved his hand and said. I need a zone fruit. The fruit is not available for now. I will give it to you when I get it later. Qinyang immediately felt that the cooperation with Marine was worth a try, at least he had to get a few fruits from Marine. As for the cooperation to exterminate the pirates, this can also be done. Anyway, the Lich King needs a soul. Speaking of which, he forgot to collect a bunch of pirate souls from the Big Mom pirates before. When he had time, he went to collect those wandering soul fragments. When you get the fruit, I will limit you to produce the fruit within 3 months, otherwise. The Lich King calmly ordered. Hearing this, Caesar's face turned dark, and for 3 months, he couldn't kill him, or could he also capture Baker Punk? Just as he was thinking about it, the two of them saw the Lich King turn and leave. Varian, who is that man? Caesar asked curiously. Lord Qin Emperor, Captain. The bald man shrugged, gave him a self-seeking look, and followed Pidian away. Hiss. Captain. Caesar was startled, secretly thankful that he didn't say anything nonsense just now. Not to mention the situation in the Island of the Dead. On the waters outside the island, 3 warships had to anchor and stop. Akainu slowly put down the phone bug and was silent for a moment before saying, Sengoku has agreed to meet you here in 2 days. As expected of Sengoku, he has a lot of power. Uchiha Itachi said lightly, if that's the case, you can get out too. Akainu frowned and hummed, we won't land, but we won't be evacuating either. He has to watch the dream here. What if the other party escapes? Really? Qinyang chuckled and said, anyway, my task is to watch you, but you seem to be very busy, so let me play a few hands with you. While speaking, he suddenly jumped back and jumped directly onto the sea. As if a feather fell into the water, he stood on the sea with ease. What? A group of sailors looked shocked. Is that human being? It can even stand directly on the sea. Admiral Kuzan's driving on the sea has already subverted common sense. This guy is more straightforward, standing directly on the sea. However, in the next moment, Uchiha Itachi's hands stretched out from the wide cuffs and formed a seal in front of him like lightning. Fire escape how fireball technique. Boom. A flame spewed out of his mouth and instantly turned into a huge fireball, rushing towards the warship. Chapter 0163_New World Chaos. Second update. Ibaraki Doji is from Onmyoji, nicknamed One Punch Man, not from One Punch Man, and there are clones. The protagonist can be controlled in multiple lines, just like playing more games, and it is similar to Hokage's shadow clone. Then, ask for automatic ~O, hollow square O close black lens bracket. Fire escape how fireball technique. Puff. Qinyang opened his mouth and blew out a flame, and the chakra in his body surged wildly. After the flaming flame was blown out, it immediately turned into a huge fireball and rushed towards the warship. Open your mouth to breathe fire. The lieutenant colonel's expression was sluggish, and his feet on the water waves were exaggerated enough. The fireball spit out of this mouth was simply a joke. Contrast, Akainu was very calm. He got up quickly, took 1 step to the bow, and punched the fireball. The right arm turned into lava, and the magma that was shot condensed into a huge fist, which bombarded the fireball. Boom. Under the collision of the two forces, the fireball exploded, and the impact force shattered the lava fist and annihilated it on the sea surface. What are you doing? Akainu frowned angrily. Aren't you very free? Play with me for a while. Qinyang's expression was as usual, and the kaleidoscope writing wheel was firmly locked on the other side. I'll do an experiment, don't burn it to death Amaterasu. The focus was locked, and with a puff, black flames burned in Akainu's chest. As soon as the flame appeared, it spread immediately, swallowing Akainu's entire 960 right arm. Seeing this, Akainu sighed inwardly. What kind of power is this? Can I burn my body with just one look? Thinking like this, he snorted angrily. I am a magma fruit-capable person. The fire of all things in the world is useless to me. It's hard to say. Qinyang smiled lightly. That's why the experiment is worthwhile. Fell. Akainu face changed suddenly, and he was shocked to find that the black flame burning his right arm would not go out. He is a magma man, and when a flame encounters magma, it will only be absorbed. However, this black flame keeps burning and even burns his body. What's the situation? Akainu groaned in pain, widened his eyes, and roared, "You flame!" Sure enough. Chinyang raised his eyebrows and looked at it carefully. Akainu had already entered fluidization and turned into a magma man. However, even so, his right arm was still eroded by black flames. However, this erosion effect is not very strong, and there is no way to burn people to death in one breath. Of course, this Amaterasu was not a full-blown pupil, but a tentative attack. Chinyang reckoned that if you didn't count the consumption, even Logia would be enough to drink a pot. Dao. Akainu Admiral. On the deck, a group of officers were secretly anxious. Half of Akainu's body was burning with black flames, and he groaned in pain. This scene was really weird. No escape, even if it turns into a fluid and becomes a pool of magma, there is no way to get rid of the erosion of the black flame. Not long after, the deck of the ship was also stained with Amaterasu flames, and in an instant, most of the warships were blazing brightly, as if they would sink at any time. Hurry up, Vice Admiral shouted in horror, do you have any intention of negotiating? This side came here with the goal of peace, but the other party actually made a move. Damn dream. Several school officials looked at each other angrily. Considering that this was a dream site, they were not impulsive enough to fight. Hurry up, Itachi Uchiha. Hearing this, Chinyang stood on the water, his hands fell naturally, and he calmly looked at the burning warship ahead. As soon as the thought moved, the kaleidoscope writing wheel I retracted Amaterasu, and in an instant, all the flames disappeared. This is a warning. Chinyang said calmly, you can stay if you don't leave, but retreat to 10 nautical miles, otherwise, I don't mind sinking you all. The officers looked ugly, and then looked at Akainu. Admiral Akainu knelt down on one knee again. At this moment, his right arm was burned, and the surface of his skin was extremely red. Akainu Admiral, someone exclaimed. Logia's top ability, the main body is actually injured. Akainu raised his left hand and stopped his subordinates. He slowly raised his head and stared gloomily at Chinyang, who was dozens of meters away. Murder is undisguised. Seeing this, Chinyang laughed softly, you're not convinced. It doesn't matter, I'm free anyway, so I can play with you. Humph. With a cold snort, Akainu's forehead burst into blue veins, but he endured abruptly. Let's go, back 10 nautical miles. He clutched his right arm and turned to retreat. Akainu Admiral. A group of officers were full of grief and indignation. With Admiral's strength, they were not afraid of that guy at all, but in a fight, these warships would definitely be doomed. Of course, more importantly, Marine needs to use the power of fantasy to exterminate the rioting New World pirates. Helpless, a group of people chose to make concessions and retreated 10 nautical miles. Chinyang stood above the water and watched the 3 warships move away. For the sake of the overall situation, do you choose to be patient? It seems that the riots in the New World are still more threatening than dreams for Marine. Shaking his head, Chinyang closed his eyes and rested, standing on the sea surface, guarding the sea. He couldn't trust Marine. If he really came in, or even bombarded the island of the dead, a stronghold that had just been built would be destroyed. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 2 days have passed. For the past 2 days, Marine has been very honest, staying 10 nautical miles away from the undead island, not daring to ignore Chinyang's warning. Compared with the peace here, the New World Big Mom waters are in chaos. Big Mom, there are 40 or 50 islands alone, and there are dozens of countries protected by the names of the 4 emperors. With the destruction of the Big Mom pirates, the news spread all over the world at lightning speed. What followed was the riots of countless pirate groups. Big pirates, ambitious people, a group of ambitious powerhouses, poured into the 4 emperor seas one after another and began to carve up their territory. For a while, the war spread and spread to countless people. The New World, somewhere above the sea. 3 large pirate ships slowly going. On the deck of one of the ships, the 3 emperors of the alliance stood on the bow, looking at the island in front of them. Big Mom suddenly disappeared and the 4 emperors' pirates were destroyed. Although I don't know who did it, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Baidi Haha Isho said, taking advantage of the chaos, we must unite with other pirate groups, absorb new forces, and then seize the throne of the 4 emperors. Huh. The Sword Emperor on the side suddenly snorted suspiciously, looking up at the sky. What is that? Several people looked up at the sky and saw that above the sky, a huge pirate ship was slowly breaking through the clouds and descending. Spaceship. The Quan Emperor was stunned. Could it be? Before he could finish his words, he saw a burst of wild laughter from the sky. I am the Golden Lion. This sea area belongs to me. Chapter 0164 Agreement of 7 Fruits. When I think that there is no manuscript for a chapter, I feel good. Start being a man with manuscripts tomorrow. Close black lens bracket. 2 days later, the island of the dead Tilda, the nearby waters. The 9 warships were lined up, majestic and majestic. In front of this row of warships, there is a larger warship. On the deck of this warship, there is a square table with a VIP chair on each side of the square table. At this moment, there is a person sitting in a chair. It is Marine Marshal Sengoku the Buddha, and behind Sengoku, 3 admiral and 9 vice admiral stand in unison. Suddenly, a group of people raised their eyebrows, and saw a sea dragon coming from the direction of the island of the dead, with its teeth and claws. At first, it was just a small black spot, but in an instant, after more than a dozen breaths, the huge sea dragon was already close to him. The next moment, 3 figures jumped down from the dragon head and landed lightly on the deck of the warship. The person on the left is wearing dark armor, and there is no exposed skin on his body, but as he walks, this person naturally emits a chill, as if the surrounding space will be frozen. Although Marine had never seen it, he recognized it immediately. The Lich King. He is the culprit who attacked the deep-sea prison. HMPH, the rumor of mutiny is indeed false. Sengoku, several vice admiral whispered. The person on the right, dressed in a robe with red clouds on a black background, walked around silently. The new Dream member, Itachi Uchiha. This guy can illusion, but he is not capable, and he can walk on water and breathe fire. He has a black flame that can't be extinguished. 2 days ago, a Kainu admiral suffered a big loss. Between the words, a group of vice admiral glared, full of hostility. Akainu himself looked at each other with a calm expression, unable to see his anger. You are here. Sengoku spoke in a low voice, and he glanced left and right before stopping at the person in the middle. Who are you? I am Qin Emperor. Qinyang sat on the chair generously and looked directly at Sengoku. You have been looking for me, and now you are standing in front of you, but you are asking me who I am. Words. Sengoku kept his smile and said lightly, about half a month ago, your Kadri Heilong and the 4 emperors Kaido had a battle in Sabayati archipelago. At that time, Heilong's human form was exactly the same as you. You not human. Have to be so suspicious. The human form of the sea dragon is so similar to this person, except for the difference in clothing and subtleties, it is almost the same person. But this is impossible, because the sea dragon is floating in the sea. Unless he masters the avatar technique, how can he be alone? Considering this as a premise, then, with 2 people who look so similar, can this Emperor Qin suddenly become a dragon? Or other creatures? Boring question. Qinyang was too lazy to answer, and said bluntly, if you all come all the way and just discuss this with me, then there is no need to continue this meeting. Hearing this, Sengoku took a deep breath and put this question aside for the time being. Tsuru Vice Admiral who was beside him. Seeing this, Great Staff Officer Crane stepped forward and handed out a piece of information. You look first. Hearing this, Qinyang picked it up and took a few glances. The content of the information is very simple. At a certain time and place, a certain pirate group launched an attack on a certain country. Basically, this is the content. The pirates went ashore to loot a country, and some even dared to kill the king directly, preparing to become the king in hegemony. Of course, there are even more exaggerated ones. Several pirate alliances have launched a purge operation against the old forces of Big Mom. However, Qin Yang didn't care much about these. What really surprised him were the last few. The great pirate Golden Lion led the Flying Sky Pirates to fight against the 3 emperors who subverted the alliance of the 4 emperors, and finally repelled the alliance of emperors and occupied a large area of the sea. For Emperor Kaido, the drought appeared in the waters of Big Mom and wiped out a new world pirate group. In addition, there are many more. Qin Yang even saw Whitebeard's subordinates, the red-haired subordinates. The other 3 of the 4 emperors have all taken action, but they don't know the specific purpose yet. It's really messy. Qin Yang couldn't help but chuckle after reading it. When Charlotte Linlin was in power, this group of people didn't move, and when they showed their downturn, they were immediately beaten up as scumbags. There will be more chaos later. This is just the beginning. Sengoku said solemnly. The culprit who caused all this is you, Qin. What's with me? Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and threw the information aside. There's no need to talk nonsense. Let us dream to help you kill the pirates. It's not impossible. Let's talk about the reward. He promised so happily, but it made Sengoku startled. It seems that devil fruits are very attractive to you. Sengoku glanced at the 2 left and right, and said, however, negotiate with us and only allow 2 or 3 people to follow. You are very courageous. 2 or 3. Qin Yang pondered Isho. When did this emperor say that there are only 2 or 3 people? As soon as he finished speaking, he clapped his hands. With a bang, suddenly, the surrounding sea surged up. Boom! There are constantly behemoths breaking out of the sea, and the sea kings of various shapes, in an instant, surround the entire marine fleet 3 circles and 3 circles, and the water is not leaking. Most of these large waves of sea kings are tens of meters in size, and the largest ones are even more than 500 meters in size. They emerge from the water like small hills. In contrast, the mere 10 warships were like children standing in front of a group of adults, looking extremely powerless. Sea Beast Legion. Kuzan's expression changed slightly. I was paying attention to the direction of the island, but I forgot about what's under the sea. How? Qin Yang chuckled in a low voice. If I'm not satisfied, I can still call in the undead natural disaster. Seeing this, Sengoku's face twitched and he took a deep breath to calm down his fluctuating emotions. We continue to talk about cooperation. He shook his head and said, Marine hires you to join forces to destroy the pirate group that is making trouble, and after this is done, I will give you 3 devil fruits. Bless. Qin Yang cherishes words like gold. After a long silence, Sengoku said, 5 pieces. 10 pieces. You're dreaming. Sengoku exploded in anger. How many people do you think you need to sacrifice to salvage 1 fruit? Oh, has something to do with me. Qin Yang pretended to be a mere 10 pieces, according to the market transaction price, but 2 billion to 3 billion. Hearing this, before Sengoku opened his mouth, the chief advisor he said, Emperor Qin, we don't play with these fakes. No matter how loud you are, we won't be able to get 10 fruits at once. It can be divided into installments. The old god Qin Yang was there. You don't deceive people too much. Garp Vice Admiral said solemnly. Persistence, Qin Yang haha Isho, said, if you can't get the reward, you can hire another Gao Ming. 6 pieces. Sengoku waved his hand and said, this is the bottom line. 7 pieces. Good. Sengoku gritted his teeth, nodded and said, quiet this turmoil, we will reward you with 7 fruits at one time. Pay a deposit first, Qin Yang said calmly. Give me a zone first to show your sincerity. No problem. Sengoku's face darkened, and he nodded after a long time. Then, the next thing is about how to exterminate. Before he could finish speaking, Qin interrupted. It's not necessary, I guess, you probably want to say, suppress the most powerful pirate forces and deter the rest. Huh. What the weak do? Qin snorted softly. Any scheme, under absolute force, is superfluous and pale. Those words left Sengoku speechless. Dream just destroyed the Big Mom pirate group. Even if he speaks wildly, he can't refute it. What do you want to do? Sengoku asked. Qin grinned, his eyes burning. An additional article is added to the content of the agreement. As long as the pirate forces that Dream destroys, everything they get will belong to Dream. Chapter 0165_another ente. The first update, it's a little late, there are guests at home, I'm sorry hollow square An additional article is added to the content of the agreement. As long as the pirate forces that Dream destroys, everything they get will belong to Dream. Qin eyes were burning, watching Sengoku's face. This is a little trial. And upon hearing this, Sengoku's expression remained unchanged, and he nodded, no problem. Originally, he didn't expect Dream to hand over the proceeds of annihilation, but now of course he agreed happily. King Shichibukai also has similar privileges, but Shichibukai still has to hand over a small portion to Marine, but obviously, Shichibukai's rules do not work here in fantasy. Seeing this, Qin knocked on the table and said with a low smile, it seems that you are really in a hurry. Sengoku was noncommittal and said bluntly, when are you going to shoot? Naturally it will be shot. Qin said calmly, pay the deposit first, we can do it at any time. Hearing what he said, Sengoku had no choice but to look at the Momonga vice admiral beside him, raised his chin, and gestured to him. Upon receiving the order, Momonga immediately set off into the cabin, and after a while, reappeared, and then handed a fruit to Sengoku. Sengoku readily handed over to Qin, saying, the things have been given to you, you can confirm it yourself. The fruit is indeed real, Qin can confirm it by scanning it. No need for hints, Uchiha Itachi stepped forward and accepted the fruit. I see your sincerity. Then, let's talk about the specific details. The cooperation between Marine and Dream was forced by circumstances. One side is the symbol of disaster, and the other side is the executor of justice. It is impossible for such two forces to cooperate closely. Therefore, Marine is only in the form of a mercenary, temporarily letting Dreams help exterminate the pirates. During this period, all objects of the Dream pirates are protected by Marine, and Marine will not have any idea of hands-on about Dream. At the same time, Marine is responsible for providing information, as well as the location of the target person, and Dream is responsible for killing. In short, both parties do their own thing and are not bound by each other. This is just a verbal agreement, and no one knows what will happen. However, Qin is not afraid of Marine defaulting on his debts. If this happens, he doesn't mind going to Marineford or even the Holy Land Mariajoy. In the end, the two sides negotiated for half an hour, and Marine left with satisfaction. 10 warships evacuated in a mighty manner, riding the wind and waves, and quickly disappeared from sight. Above the dragon head, Qin watched a group of people leave. He waved his hand to let the Sea Beast Legion clear a passage and let the other party leave. Let's go back to the island of the dead. The three of them soared into the air, and disappeared into the island in an instant. The Sea Beast Legion also slowly sank to the bottom of the sea, reclusive and responsible for protecting the safety of the island. After returning to Ghost Island, Qin handed over the Zone Devil Fruit he had just obtained to Caesar, and asked the other party to study the artificial Devil Fruit as soon as possible. Next, before the rioting pirates are destroyed, the 4 emperors of the alliance will be destroyed first. After Qin dealt with the affairs on the island, he thought about how to do it. It is very troublesome to destroy one pirate group one by one. It is best to think of a way to get the pirates to actively gather, and then he will encircle them all at once. However, this is not in a hurry for the time being. First, the 4 emperors who subverted the alliance of the 4 emperors must be killed. To be precise, there are 3 emperors left, and these 3 must be killed first. Now that Qin Yang's main body phantom god has appeared, the name of Emperor Qin will definitely be launched, and the name of the emperor cannot be contaminated by others. Thinking of this, Qin Yang left the Ghost Island and went to the New World. Riding the dragon away, Qin Yang took back the Lich King and transformed himself, and then called out the Night King and asked the other party to dial a number. After a while, the call was connected. "Hello. It's me. Lord King of Knights." The other end of the phone, Unical Vivi was taken aback and said, "What is your order? Tell me, where is the League now?" Hearing the words, Unical was silent for a while. In Flame Island. A few days ago, the Alliance encountered the air pirates. The White Emperor attacked them, but they were repelled and injured a little. Now they are in Flame Island, ready to join forces with the Flame Pirates. To absorb their captains into the League. Quote. Flame Pirates. This Qin Yang knows a little bit. In the information given by Marine, he saw this pirate group. The captain is the big pirate of the New World, entrenched in the Island of Flames, with a bounty of 910 million. Big Mom Pirate Group. This person immediately started to take action and devoured a large area of the sea, and even did not hesitate to destroy a small country. So that's the case, you can't beat the Golden Lion, do you need help? The knight said. Hey, no one thought that Golden Lion was still alive. It is rumored that 10 years ago, after he escaped from the deep-sea prison, he disappeared, and everyone thought he was dead. Unical snorted and said, however, the Alliance is not looking for new forces to join because of the Golden Lion. Some of them are forced to helplessness, because the Alliance is a little weaker among the several big pirate forces that are emerging now. 3 emperors of the Alliance are not those with Logia abilities, they are martial arts experts, great swordsmen, 3 pirate groups under their banner, and several other pirate groups attached to the Alliance, with a total combat strength of about 5,000 people. However, although this power is not small, there are more other powers of the same level or even slightly stronger. Moreover, now that the 4 emperors have become 3 emperors, the strength is greatly reduced. Really? Thinking of this, the Night King nodded. Tell me the exact location of the Fire Island. This you don't really want to destroy the Alliance, do you? Unical said hesitantly. What, is there a problem? No, it's just that now the Alliance and the captain of the Fire Pirates have basically negotiated. I'm afraid the Alliance will have another, Entei. 4 big pirates, even the 4 emperors, can fight a dozen in a 4v1 situation. Hearing this, Qin Yang Vivi narrowed his eyes, and without waiting for the King of Knights to speak, he took a step forward and said, another Entei. Only 1 emperor is allowed to exist. It would be better to destroy the Alliance. Who are you? Unical was stunned, he could clearly hear that this was not the voice of the King of Knights. However, since this person is next to the King of Knights, he must also be a Dream member, and maybe 2.4 is also a cadre. Seeing this, the King of Knights explained. He's the captain of our Dream Pirates Emperor Qin. Pause, the King of Knights said again. This time, Emperor Qin will personally take action and destroy the Alliance. Hearing this, Unical suddenly fell into a sluggishness. Emperor Qin. The rumored Dream Captain has appeared. He was dumbfounded, unable to utter a word, and after a long while he just gave a wry smile. The Alliance is really dead, this is to provoke the boss of a group of murderers. What kind of monster-level strength is the person who can quell the sea dragon, the 9-tailed demon fox, the King of Knights and other cadres? Just thinking about it, Unical has a shuddering feeling, at least it is the 4th Emperor level, and even more, it has reached the level of the former One Piece King of Pirates Roger, surpassing the combat power of the 4th Emperor level. Taking a deep breath, Unical bit his head and opened his mouth. Flame Island is. Chapter 0166_ arriving at Fire Island. Second update. I have been disconnecting from the internet for a few days, several times a day, every 10 minutes to an hour. I wonder if I am the only one in this situation. I am here for telecom fiber O, hollow square, O close black lens bracket. Flame Island is. Unical reported a specific location, and then whispered, the Alliance is going to continue to expand its power after inviting Entei to join. If you want to do it, you must do it as soon as possible, otherwise the further back you go, the faster the Alliance will expand. Quote. Now the chaos in the New World is a good time to expand the power. In the past 2 days alone, several pirate alliances have emerged. Subverting the alliance of the 4 emperors is no exception. Hearing this, the King of Knights nodded with satisfaction and said, you have done a good job. For the time being, you will continue to go undercover. When we destroy the alliance, Emperor Qin will let the Shadow Demon meet you. Yes. After hanging up the phone, Qin Yang thought about it, and immediately retracted the phantom of the King of Knights. I saw the golden light shining, and the King of Knights turned into a stream of light, submerging into Qin Yang's body. After pondering for a while, Qin Yang took Uchiha Itachi back together, and then called out, Nine-tailed Demon Fox, and Shadow Demon. The nine-tailed Demon Fox is naturally a human form. The 3-star Nine-tailed, the 2-star Shadow Demon, and the 5-star Sea Dragon are now full of 10 stars. He is going to attack the Flame Island, and naturally the combination of the 9-15-tailed Demon Fox and the Sea Dragon is the strongest. As for the Shadow Demon, you have to try it first to see if the Shadow Demon can sneak into the dream world directly. Thinking of this, Qin Yang divided his mind into 4 functions, respectively controlling the 3 phantom bodies and the main body. After a few days of training, he has mastered the skill of phantom body manipulation, to some extent. With a single thought, he can divide countless numbers. In theory, he can control an extremely large number of phantom bodies. Is the limit. If you want to achieve more differentiation in one thought, it takes a certain amount of time to practice. Of course, this is not a problem, it is enough for the time being. Shaking his head, Qin Yang put this aside for now, he controlled the Shadow Demon, and slowly closed his eyes. It was daytime now, and the Shadow Demon only had 5 minutes, so he had to do it as soon as possible. Star Map. Closing his eyes, the Shadow Demon appeared in front of a spot of stars. Densely shining stars, some strong and some weak. Shadow Demon sensed the one belonging to Big Mom and quickly got in touch. Sure enough, he's still alive, but he seems to be dying, in a state of half-dead. Compared with the incomparable brilliance of the peak period, the star representing Charlotte Linlin at this moment is bleak, like a candle in the wind, it will go out at any time. It's better to make up for it and kill it directly. With a thought, the Shadow Demon approached the star point, ready to jump in space. However, the expected dizziness did not come, and his space jump was blocked by some invisible force. I really can't jump over it. The Shadow Demon was stunned for a while, thinking a little helplessly, it seems that the dream world belongs to another dimension, and space jumping cannot enter. This is a pity, the soul of the 4 emperors should be a good material. Space jump, there are many fantasy transformations with similar power. Qin Yang even knows that some powerful transformations can break through time and space and travel. There must be an illusory body that can travel through the dream world, but unfortunately, Qin Yang does not yet have it. It seems that we can only wait, let's kill the alliance first. Thinking of this, the Shadow Demon opened his eyes, glanced at the body, and disappeared into a plume of black smoke. Fire Island. As its name suggests, the island is a real island of flames. The island as a whole is burning, raging fire, and even spread to the sea. In this place, there is a very strange phenomenon. For more than 10 years, there has never been a rain. The only recorded time was in the period of One Piece, King of Pirates Roger. At that time, there was a great pirate who had the power of rain and rain fruit. He turned into rain and covered a radius of 10 nautical miles. Even for 7 days and 7 nights, he could not extinguish the flame. Island of Flames. This day, at night. In the center of Fire Island, in an open-air square, a group of pirates held a banquet. Of the Lu one-day banquet, there is a big round table full of delicious food. In the main seat is a burly man with red skin of stubble, and his upper body is naked, and his strong muscles show his strength. This man is more than 3 meters tall, with an ugly appearance, and a row of missing teeth is revealed when he grins. It's been a week, every day is a banquet. Patrick, how are you thinking? Suddenly, Emperor Bai couldn't help but ask whether to join or not. In a word, we have no time to waste with you. Ha ha, the old man is really moved. The man known as Patrick gave a weird laugh. It's just that, if I join you, I will accompany you to death. The old man is not very optimistic about your future. Before I heard that, the 3 of you couldn't even beat the golden lion. Hearing this, Baidi's complexion changed slightly, and he snorted coldly. You can do it, you don't know who the golden lion is. A dozen years ago, among the strongest people in the world, apart from Roger, they were Whitebeard and Golden Lion. Lion these guys. You also know that it was more than 10 years ago. What is the current Golden Lion? Patrick grinned and his eyes flickered. It's not impossible for me to join you. There is only one condition. Say. This old man wants to kill someone, and the 3 of you will help me when I need it. Who? 4 emperors Kaido. Hearing this, Emperor Bai's face sank. 4 of the 4 emperors, Whitebeard, they absolutely dare not mess with them. Kaido is next, and the redhead is, Soft Persimmon. Their alliance is willing to open fire with Big Mom, not Kaido, that monster can't kill at all. However, the other party put forward conditions, but Emperor Bai did not agree. Suddenly, above the sky, a dark cloud gathered at an unknown time, and the light rain suddenly fell 333 times. The rain was small, short and quickly spread into a downpour. All the pirates were stunned, looking up at the sky one by one. It's raining. Impossible. How can it rain here? What a heavy rain, a rare situation in 10 years. Patrick was also stunned. He looked up at the sky and remained silent. Baidi, this old man has a question for you. He murmured. What? Who is this man? Suddenly, Patrick turned his gaze to a young man on the side of the large table. The man sat casually, without restraint, enjoying the fruit on the table by himself. Baidi frowned, looked at the man and said, Isn't it from your flame pirates? How could that be? Patrick laughed and laughed. He's not yours. The old man always thought that he was yours. No. In an instant, more than a dozen pressure-filled gazes were directed at the man enjoying the fruit. A cadre of the flame pirates shouted in a deep voice, Boy, who are you? How did you get in here? Ha 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 ha. Qin Yang ate an apple cleanly before opening his mouth slowly. I am Emperor Qin, and I will kill you and others. As soon as the voice fell, Qin Yang slapped it with a palm. Boom. In an instant, the power of frost suddenly spread, starting from the big table, and in an instant, everything around was frozen. Chapter 0167_ allow you to kneel. The third update, please ask for some automatic comfort. Today's network has not been stable, it keeps breaking and breaking, so annoying. Oh, hollow square, oh. Boom. Qin Yang slapped the big table with his palm, and the power of frost spread in his palm instantly. This power has been accumulating until it erupted at this moment, and almost in an instant, everything within a radius of 100 meters was turned into a crystal ice sculpture. The glittering ice sculptures constantly flicker and reflect light under the late sun. The flame pirates and several officials who subverted the 4 emperors' alliance were completely frozen before they could even react. Qin Yang leaned back on the chair, and leisurely picked up a pineapple, opened his mouth and bit it. He deliberately controlled his strength and didn't put the fruit on ice, and when he bit it, the sweet juice bloomed on the tip of his tongue, nourishing his body that was dehydrated due to the high temperature. How did you stay in this ghost place? The lowest temperature is over 40, and the high place has thousands of degrees. It's like purgatory. Saying so, Qin Yang looked not far away. I saw the captain of the flame pirates who was sitting there before, but now he has avoided far away, hiding a few dozen meters away, looking at each other in shock. Who is Emperor Qin? What are you doing here? Patrick frowned. I don't know you, and I didn't offend you by asking myself. Qin Emperor. In the air, a white cloud floated, and the 3 emperors of the alliance stood on it, with a very ugly face. He's the captain of the Dream Pirates. Hearing this, Patrick shrank his pupils and said in shock, You are that mysterious captain, Qin. Is it necessary to be surprised? Qin Yang said with a playful gaze, I heard from my subordinates that someone was called Emperor. I thought he was an amazing guy, but it turned out to be only 2 or 3 big cats. Hearing this, Emperor Bai and others showed a fierce light. They are big pirates after all. Although they are not comparable to the top powerhouses like the 4 emperors, they are also famous characters in the New World. If they say it, they can scare the existence of a king of a country to death. Qin Yang called them 2 or 3 big cats, which was a blatant provocation. After the initial shock, Patrick regained his composure and hummed, Emperor Qin. Ever since the shadow demon sneaked into the Holy Land and killed a Tenryubito, the old man has often encountered people who claim to be Captain Dreams, and without exception, they have all been killed by the old man. Now, at such a young age as you still want to deceive the old man. In his opinion, a mysterious pirate group like Dream has countless masters under its banner, and their captains must be top powerhouses like Kaido and Whitebeard. Qin Yang's young appearance is nothing like it. However, at this moment, a figure descended from the sky. To lie to you, who do you think you are? Zhu Yi, I will teach you how to talk to our captain. The figure that flew down, with a pair of golden fox words and a demon fox coat all over his body, suddenly landed on the bottom of the ice, directly trampling the ground to pieces. Nine-tailed demon fox. Bai Di's expression changed slightly, and he suddenly felt that the situation was not good. Patrick turned around suddenly, staring at him alertly, the former King Shichibukai, the cadre of the Dream Pirates' nine-tailed demon fox. Do you think the old man will believe it? Hearing this, Emperor Bai secretly scolded the human form of Bai Yuji and Jue. Although there are not many people who know about Gu, they can still know if they investigate the information carefully. Why? The characteristic is the pair of golden fox eyes, which can never be faked. Ha 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 ha, Juya likes a stubborn one like you. The nine-tailed demon fox laughed loudly and let out a long roar. The next moment, his body shone with red light, and suddenly, he turned into a huge fox with a body of 100 meters. The fox exudes evil power, with 9 tails swaying from side to side, and a pair of tyrannical eyes, looking down at Patrick below. I haven't used the demon fox form for a long time. Today, I will let Juya see what is Entei, and dare to use the Emperor's name. As soon as the voice fell, the 9-tailed demon fox raised its paw and slapped it directly. Compared with the huge body of 9 tails, a human being is a little bit smaller, not enough for a single paw. This claw breath locks, and armament hockey wraps around and falls from the top of his head, smashing everything. Patrick stared blankly at this scene, and a person suddenly turned into a giant. This kind of shock can only be experienced in person. And this moment of daze, directly made him lose the opportunity to escape. Boom! A palm fell, the ground cracked, Qin Yang's previously frozen square was shattered under this palm, and the ground outside rolled up. Above the flying clouds, Bai Di and the others were awe-inspiring. The brute force of this 9-tailed demon fox is so strong that it is simply a monster. No, it is a monster in itself. Withdraw. Bai Di's eyes flashed and he whispered. Aren't you going to help him? Quan Di was stunned. He might be killed. Let's go. Sword Emperor said solemnly. I am the best at observation hockey. I can judge a person's strength by breath. That Qin Emperor sitting there is unfathomable. Hurry up. A brief exchange between the three, they directly abandoned the reserve member, Entei, and prepared to escape. However, a dragon roar sounded, and a huge dragon power suddenly descended, covering almost the entire island. Boom! The expressions of the three of Bai Di were horrified, and they could almost hear the loud noise from the vibration of the atmosphere. They seemed to be carrying a mountain on their backs, which was extremely heavy. It's a dreamy sea dragon. The Fist Emperor's face was solemn, and the muscles of the whole person were tensed. I saw above the sky, a sea dragon that was moving clouds and raining slowly showed its head, and the dragon's eyes looked down at the three people below, and said coldly, "The three of you are called emperors, which is a taboo of our dreams. Now you want to run, where can you run? The entire world's sea areas are under the control of Benlong." The three Baidi were shocked. The sea dragon above their heads was able to snipe the marine fleet and force the other side to subdue the soft master of the ocean. At sea, the three of them could not be beaten. "You can only fight." Baidi gritted his teeth. "We have to find a way to capture their captain, and then evacuate from the sky." "Captain, that guy is probably not weaker than this sea dragon, or even stronger." "That's all I can do, damn it. How does Dream know we're here? There are traitors in the alliance." However, at this moment, a blazing high temperature was transmitted from the center of the square. Everyone stared sideways, only to see Patrick, who was shot into the ground by the nine-tailed demon fox, and slowly stood up at this moment. His skin was extremely red, like red-hot steel, and wisps of white smoke continued to emit. When the air came into contact with his body, it was ignited and twisted. "Huh." The nine-tailed demon fox let out a sigh and said, "It's actually fine, Juya, I have no mercy, your strength is not bad. You bastard nearly shattered an old bone." Patrick walked towards Juwei angrily. Every step he took, he left a deep footprint on the ground, as if he could step on the ground into lava. "The old man is the one with the power of the hot fruit. Today, whether you are a dream or not, I will burn you to ashes." As he spoke, he took a deep breath and suddenly punched Kyubi in the air. Hot air. Boom. There was a dull loud noise, and the extremely high temperature punched the air, causing a gust of wind directly. Blowing wildly, carrying high temperature energy, and punching it, most of the ground has been burned red. There was even a building that turned into dust and disappeared directly under the hot wind. The huge body of the nine-tailed demon fox could not dodge at all, and directly resisted a wave. At this moment, Qinyang suddenly stood up, and with a wave of his right hand, the power of frost instantly turned into a stream of light. Ka ka ka. In an instant, a huge ice wall was erected in an area between the nine-tailed demon fox and Patrick. The ice wall blocks all the hot wind. Seeing this, Patrick's expression changed slightly, and then he looked at the excessively young captain. "Nine Tails, you go and deal with those three people." Qinyang walked over and slowly drew out the dragon's blood and national light. "Is your name, Entei? You didn't escape immediately, so it's worthy of praise. As a reward, this emperor allows you to kneel down and repent." Chapter 0168_Susano. First update, congratulations to all the big guys for a happy new year tilde. This emperor allows you to kneel down and repent. Qinyang held the dragon's blood and guagong in his hand, and walked slowly towards Entei as he took a step. Entei Patrick's face is solemn, he is not stupid. Seeing this, it is already clear that the person in front of him is really a dream captain. Just, how is it? He killed several counterfeiters, and when he met a real person today, he couldn't help but want to test it out. Let the old man kneel. Patrick snorted angrily. The old man has lived for more than 40 years and has never kneeled before anyone. Hearing this, Qinyang was noncommittal, but said lightly, "Heilong, sprinkle a drop of true dragon blood." Above the sky, Heilong immediately flicked his fingers, and a drop of hot blood flew from his claws, falling to the top of Qinyang's head. I saw a flash of sword light, and the dragon-slaying sword cut the drop of dragon blood. Suddenly, the sword sounded loudly, and a sense of joy continued to spread. This long sword trembled slightly, as if a murderous soldier had awakened. Dragon Blood Kingdom Light. Patrick sighed inwardly. He recognized this weapon, which is as famous as Hawkeye's black knife, one of the supremely fast knives. Can't let him wake up the sword. Knowing the power of the supreme sword, Patrick no longer hesitated. His nostrils spurted hot air, and the whole person seemed to be holding a strong pressure water pot, and suddenly opened the valve to deflate 317. The next moment, his person was like a flash of lightning, suddenly crossing a distance of tens of meters and rushing in front of Qin Yang. Searing blast. Entei slammed a punch. On top of this punch, the black glove was as red as a branding iron, and the huge fist hit Qin Yang's head. Seeing this, Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, raised his left hand, and the power of frost in his palm condensed. Boom! The fists meet, and the next moment, the high temperature is condensed into a stream through the fist, forming a scorching current, which directly releases the impact. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire earth suddenly collapsed. However, Qin Yang's palm thawed most of the impact. The frost force was not afraid of high-temperature impact at all. What? Patrick's eyes widened. Even if Kuzan's freezing, it can't stop it, and it will be vaporized in an instant. What is your ability? He was shocked inside. Admiral Kuzan had captured him before, but he was not afraid of Admiral, beat Kuzan back, and ran away. At this moment, seeing Qin Yang blocking his punch with the power of frost, he felt incredible. Don't compare the frozen fruit with my frost. Qin Yang blocked a blow with one hand, and at the same time, the long sword whip in his right hand suddenly slashed. Your glove is very interesting, it can withstand the high temperature, not melt. Seeing him slashing with a sword, Patrick didn't dare to stand up. He directly retreated to dodge, and at the same time turned sideways to avoid the invisible slash. Whoosh! A sword fell, and the invisible sword chi that was struck was like training, easily leaving a deep incision on the ground. This is the great swordsman. Patrick's expression changed, but fortunately he had more attention, otherwise, if he didn't flash just now, he might have lost his arm. Immediately, he quickly backed away, not daring to approach at will. HMPH, this pair of gloves is specially made for the hot fruit, which can absorb heat without damage. This kind of thing only exists in the New World. So it is. Qin Yang nodded secretly. He knew this kind of prop specially used for fruit power users. If I remember correctly, Padaka's DAce has a boat specially used as a moving tool. However, although this kind of thing is good, it is useless to him, and he is not a capable person. Thinking of this, Qin Yang looked at Patrick. His eyes suddenly condensed, and in an instant, 3 Guyu appeared in his eyes, and the next moment, the 3 Guyu transformed into a kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. Aware of this change, Patrick said in surprise, "What kind of eyes are these?" Seeing Qin Yang striding forward, he quickly punched again. A punch in the air, the fist is majestic, like a huge fist phantom, swept away directly. Hot air. Woo-hoo. A dark red gust of wind swept through, covering Qin Yang who was walking towards him. Under this hot wind, Qin Yang's body immediately began to collapse. First the skin burned red, then the flesh and blood disappeared, and in a blink of an eye, only a skeleton remained. Huh. Patrick was stunned. This is dead. It's not that I haven't seen such a situation before. When he destroyed a country a week ago, he used this trick to beat the palace. That's how the king at that time died, and the entire palace was destroyed in ashes. Ha ha ha, the old man thought he was such a powerful character, but he accidentally ate my hot air and died. After the blown sluggishness, Patrick couldn't help laughing out loud. Even the 3 emperors who were busy dealing with the 9-tailed demon fox in the distance couldn't help but cast their eyes. However, in the next second, Patrick's laughter stopped and he had a hellish expression. I saw that the skeleton frame suddenly collapsed and turned into a black crow in the sky, croaking and flying. No way. What's the situation? Patrick had a shuddering feeling. This strange scene simply subverted common sense. Suddenly, a black crow appeared behind him, and then more and more black crows appeared, quickly condensing into a single figure. Qin Yang's face was calm, and he stabbed in the back with a sword. Not good. It's an illusion. Sensing the sense of crisis, Patrick rolled forward and avoided a blow aimed at the heart at the last moment. However, this is the case, his back was also injured by the sword energy, and there was a wound that jumped 3 to 5 centimeters deep. For a while, the blood flowed non-stop. Patrick didn't have the time to care about the trauma. He stared at Chin Young, who suddenly appeared behind him, gritted his teeth and said, "It was illusion. I've seen people who can use illusion." That was several years ago. Not long after he entered the New World, he met a pirate group. The captain of the pirate group used an illusion to directly destroy his entire ship. Cannibalism, only he survived. After a few years, when he saw the illusion again, Patrick was very shocked, and there was a sense of fear. Hearing his words, Chin Young was unmoved and said calmly, "Intuition is very strong. Just 1/3 of a second slower, you are already dead. HMPH, I've already taken precautions. Don't think of using the same move a second time." Patrick shouted angrily. "Really? Then let you see it, it's even more interesting. I only learned this trick yesterday, and I still can't fully control it. You seek more blessings." Chin Young spoke lightly, and the next moment, his eyes narrowed. "Susanengu." Boom. A huge chakra overflowed, with Chin Young as the center, forming a half-length martial god's real shadow, the whole body exuding orange-red color, like a ghost. This half-length martial god is imposing, with a body of dozens of meters, and a pair of ghost eyes looking down. What is this?" Patrick looked dull, opened his mouth, and murmured. Chapter 0169-1 Against 4. Susano. The third ability of Kaleidoscope Shaker. First, it began to condense from the ribs, and then spread rapidly. In less than a second, a half-body Valkyrie skeleton frame suddenly appeared, wrapping the caster. Looking at this scene, Entei Patrick looked sluggish and murmured, "This monster, what is it?" He. Feeling this huge chakra, Chin Young chuckled lightly and said, "This is not a monster, this is the ultimate technique of integrating offense and defense, also known as the power of God. Use your body to experience it." As soon as the voice fell, Susanengu, who was shrouded in Chin Yang's body, suddenly raised his right hand, spread his fingers wide, and slapped it hard at Entei. He has just mastered this ability and can't use the complete body yet, but it is enough to deal with the person in front of him. Damn. Seeing this, Patrick's face was ugly. Seeing the big hand patted it, he didn't dodge it immediately, but chose to raise his arms high and block it with his forearms. Boom. The big hand fell, and suddenly it seemed like a big mountain fell. Patrick's face was horrified, and he clearly felt a huge force coming, as if he was going to be shot into the ground. The ground beneath his feet shattered and cracked, and Patrick hunched his teeth to resist. What a strange power. If there is no armament hockey, this old man can't hold this palm at all. Patrick's face was flushed, not only because of the fruit's ability, but he was still holding a breath, unable to vent. Stupid, do you think my Susano has only one hand? Chin Young looked at each other calmly, and with a thought, he immediately manipulated Susanengu's left hand and shot him down. The left palm formed a fist, and without hesitation, he hammered down the right palm. Oops, it's really unstoppable this time. Patrick's pupils shrank, and the secret thought was not good, high temperature supercharging. He shouted in his heart, and suddenly, Patrick's body became more and more red, and his entire skin began to burn slightly. A large amount of steam overflowed from his pores, and what followed was the rapid strengthening of his body. Whoosh! At the last moment, Patrick actually pushed Susano's right hand away, and at the same time burst into speed, dodging the fatal punch. Boom! A punch hit the ground, and the entire ground was slammed into the ground, and the thick smoke filled the air, blocking all sight. Chin Young watched calmly, and whispered in his heart, using the high temperature to increase the pressure in the body and let him exert his strength and speed beyond the limit. It's a bit similar to Monkey D. Luffy's second gear. At this moment, the smoke obscured his vision, and Chin Young lost sight of his target. However, he is not in a hurry, and he will not let go of any slight changes in the expansion of his insight to the limit state. Found it. With a chuckle, Qin recognized the unnatural fluctuations of the smoke and immediately noticed the other party's location. You. At this moment, Patrick rushed out of the smoke, and he attacked Qin left-hand side. Searing shock. With a loud shout, Patrick slapped his palm and hit Susanoo's skeleton hard. Immediately, the high temperature carried a huge amount of heat, turned into a shock, and radiated toward Qin. The little trick of the eagle, I said, this is the integration of offense and defense. Qin moved his finger Vivi, controlled Susanoo, and patted it towards the waist. What? Doesn't that work? Patrick was taken aback, and he shot out, revealing himself, and he had no time to dodge. The big hand swept away, like slapping a fly, and it flew directly. Boom! In an instant, Patrick turned into a shooting star and was sent flying 100 meters away, smashing the banquet table and several ice sculptures all the way, and finally collapsed beside the nine-tailed demon fox and the 3 emperors of the alliance. Wow! Before he had time to get up, Patrick sighed, spitting out a burst of blood, and the pressure in his body was relieved at once, as if he had been beaten back to his original shape. Patrick, the Fist Emperor, who was not far away, was shocked when he saw this. Is this for a minute? To be beaten like this is like being hanged and beaten, and there is no way to fight back. What a waste, it really was a mistake to ask you to join the alliance. Baidi's complexion changed, he snorted coldly, pushed the 9-tailed demon fox back with a big hand of Baiyun, and then looked in Qin direction. I saw an orange half-body skeleton slowly moving towards this side, and on the skeleton's abdomen, Qin body moved, and with every step, Susanoo, wrapped around it, moved with it. What is this? He was taken aback, his heart awe-inspiring. The 3 emperors all looked alert, their muscles were tense, and they were ready to fight back at any time. Qin glanced at the 4 of them, and then said, "You step back, I'm enough alone." Hearing this, the 9-tailed demon fox sat down directly, stretched out its paws and touched the fox's face, and said jokingly, "You guys, ask yourself for more happiness. Juyi, I'm just watching the play, don't think about running. There are sea dragons in the sky, and Juyi and me on land, you can't escape." Hearing this, Baidi's face suddenly turned gloomy. "It's really been looked down upon," he said coldly. "I thought you were a dream captain, so would I be afraid of you? If you want to fight against 3 with 1 no, with 1 against 4, you have to be arrogant. There is a limit." Ha ha ha, Qin ha-has Isho and said, "Don't be aggressive, I won't let them shoot, as long as you can beat me, I can consider spare your life." "Are you serious?" the boxer said with a flash of eyes. "Of course." Qin raised his eyebrows. "Your name is Cathrog, and your subordinates have provided us with information. In view of this, whether you win or lose, I will spare you once." As soon as these words came out, Emperor Bai's expression was stern, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. "Cathrog, the traitor is you." "No," Quan Di gritted his teeth, "don't get caught in a quarrel, deal with him now. We won't be able to leave alive without defeating him." Hearing this, Emperor Bai and Emperor Sword frowned deeply, and they did not attack for the time being, but agreed to the outside world. HMPH, since that's the case, as long as you are captured. Baidi's whole body was surging with luck, and the whole body turned into a cloud of white clouds. In the clouds, his voice came out, "Patrick, deal with him together before he dies. I promise you conditions, and will help you kill Kaido afterwards." Quote. Cough cough, what a hell. Patrick coughed again and again, pressurized again, and his body surface turned red again. "Qin Emperor, this old man doesn't mean to be your enemy. You want to deal with the 3 of them, old man, I can help you." He defiantly turned back. "Unless the mind is in the arms, then it will stand on the side of the alliance and become the enemy of fantasy." Knowing that this group of idiots had provoked dreams, he would not even agree to let them go to the island. "You." Sword Emperor looked ugly, staring at this bastard. Ha ha ha. Qin couldn't help laughing a few times, and then his tone was calm. "It's useless to talk too much, the four of you, let's go together." As soon as the words fell, Susano's right hand suddenly opened, and he held it in the void. Suddenly, a white light flickered, and a spirit sword suddenly appeared. Ten-Fist Sword. The huge long sword appeared and immediately stood down towards the four of them. Chapter 0170-Kill One First. The third update. I saw someone in the book review saying that the Ten-Fist Sword. The Ten-Fist Sword is a spiritual sword. It has no substance, and the gourd is only used for sealing. It is a container. Way. Group number 1 will be announced. 230,131,998. Every festival will give out red envelopes. Welcome everyone to come in. By the way, ask for an automatic mouth and teeth. Ten-Fist Sword. The sword of a spirit body that suddenly condensed, first shone with white light, and then with a puff, the orange chakra wrapped it like a flame. After the sword body appeared, Susano immediately slashed towards the four white emperors. The sword came so violently that the four quickly scattered to avoid it. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Sword Emperor Ingrid suddenly pulled out his sword from his waist and rushed forward. This is a blow from the great swordsman. The sword glow is brilliant, even if it is 10 meters away, the sword energy alone can sweep a mountain. Qin Yang's expression was as usual, and Shiranyan had insight into all the actions of the four of them. At this moment, his thoughts moved to strengthen the frontal defense. At the same time, he manipulated Susano to strike a blow towards the Fist Emperor on the left. Whoosh! A sword chi slashed on Susanengu's body, but only smashed a rib, but failed to injure Qin Yang's body, and the shattered rib was repaired in the next instant. At the same time, the Fist Emperor faced Susano and punched violently. The fist is awe-inspiring, and the fist wind is raised, and after the collision with it, a muffled sound immediately erupted. "This monster is really troublesome," the Sword Emperor said in a deep voice. "The defensive power is already very strong, and with his armament haki, the destructive power and defensive power are multiplied. And it can be repaired in an instant." The boxer nodded and said, "We have to find a way to restrain his attention, and then smash the monster protecting him with one blow. We have an advantage in numbers, and the outcome is only an instant." The three emperors have been fighting together for a long time, and there is still a tacit understanding between them. After looking at each other, I immediately had a plan. Baidi floated into the air and waved his hands towards Qin Yang. Immediately, the white clouds rolled like a wave, engulfing the entire square in an instant. Sea of clouds. But this didn't end, only Baidi roared. "White dragon! Roar!" In the sea of clouds, a long, snow-white dragon flew out and wrapped around Susano at once, trapping it completely. 2 times. Qin Yang's eyes flashed and he praised. "Logia's ability is indeed strong. As long as you're not an idiot, you're more or less a master if you eat the Logia devil fruit." Not to mention the White Emperor, he completely possesses Admiral-level combat power. Sword Emperor may be slightly inferior to Admiral, Boxing Emperor again. As for Entei, Qin Yang estimates that this person has been hiding and has not made a serious shot, and the specific strength cannot be accurately judged. Even at this moment, Patrick was just pretending to hide to the side, and didn't mean desperately. At this time, the white dragon bound Susanang, and the Fist Emperor rushed forward. Qin Yang couldn't see the specific situation, Baiyun blocked his sight, and could only judge by his breath. The other party rushed towards him. Tiger bites the fist. Suddenly, Fist Emperor's right hand turned into a claw shape, armament haki dyed it jet black, got in front of Susano, and slammed it out. Roar! As if a white tiger roared wildly, the fist even formed a phantom and hit Susanoho with a bang. Boom! The huge body was shaken, and Susano took a hard blow, and the next moment, the chest and ribs were shattered inch by inch, finally making a gap. But at this moment, the ten-fist sword fell on the fist of the Emperor. With a sword slashed and his momentum locked, the Emperor of Boxing was unavoidable. "What?" Cathrog was startled and said incredulously, "Crazy. No, this guy planned to abandon this monster from the beginning. Even if he takes a move, he will be cut with a sword. Seeing that he was about to be slashed by a sword, the sea of clouds on both sides tumbled, and suddenly two giant white hands stretched out, and they blocked the 10-fist sword in a posture of empty-handed and white blade. It's a good fit. Qin was in the body of Susanangu, watching all this quietly. HMPH, do you think this is over? Above the sky, the White Emperor snorted coldly, your monster defense is indeed strong, but it is not unbreakable. In the face of our attack, you can only choose to cover hockey in the blanket. First place to attack, so as to avoid the fate of being broken. But now how about your back? As soon as his voice fell, behind Susanoo, the figure of the Sword Emperor slowly appeared. He took the posture of drawing the sword and slashing, and the spirit and energy of his whole body had climbed to the peak, and a blow combined with the belief of killing, suddenly swept out. Profound truth, Kenshin strike. Whoosh. A huge silver slash cuts through the sea of clouds. The huge white cloud that shrouded the square was instantly split into 2 layers under this blow. Everything was like lightning. This sword swept across, nothing could stop him, and he attacked from behind Susanoo, cutting his body in half at once. Boom! The shattered Susanoo suddenly turned into wisps of chakra and vanished like smoke. Are you dead? The Sword Emperor murmured in a low voice, looking at the results of the battle in the distance. No, be careful. Suddenly, Emperor Bai's exclamation came, which contained a deep sense of horror. In the next instant, the Sword Emperor also reflected. In front of him, a crow floated by and suddenly turned into a human shape, and then with a puff, a sword pierced his chest. At this time, Qin Yang's body was completely condensed and formed. It's a pity that the Susanoo that you all tried so hard to smash, I also made you smash it on purpose. Qin Yang calmly looked at the Sword Emperor who was recruited, and said indifferently, as a sideshow, you have done a good job. You illusion. The Sword Emperor opened his mouth, and a large amount of blood immediately overflowed. With great effort, he raised his right long sword and slashed at Qin Yang feebly. In the face of this pre-death counterattack, Qin Yang didn't even dodge and let the opponent fall. How good is it to be confused and die? The truth will only make you despair. Following these words, the Sword Emperor's long sword slashed on top of Qin Yang's head, but it seemed to be touching an illusory object, passing through it from head to toe. Seeing this, Sword Emperor Ingrid said in his pupils, and then smiled miserably, his face ashen. It turns out that... Puff! Qin Yang took out the dragon's blood and turned around and walked towards the 2-fist emperors. Immediately, blood splattered all over the sky, and the Sword Emperor's body fell straight down, and soon lost his breath. Ingrid, Bai Di roared loudly. He has the deepest relationship with the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor was also the first to join the alliance. The rest of them have been replaced, but the Sword Emperor has never left the stage. Today, however, the old partner also died. Emperor Qin. Bai Di was already furious. In this regard, Qin Yang seemed to be unaware, but he still moved slowly, walking slowly towards the person. Behead one person first, there are 3 left. Chapter 0171_Coalition Collapse. The first update of the new year please the automatic O, hollow square O. The 3 of Beatty cooperated in a series of attacks, and finally broke Qin Yang's Susanangu, but it was only to this extent. The Sword Emperor's last move, the profound meaning, failed to hurt Qin Yang in the slightest, but was hit by a single blow. Punched through the chest to fight back. Patrick, who had been watching the battle not far away, suddenly felt awe-inspiring. This guy's body can ignore physical attacks. It's no wonder that the sword of the Sword Emperor Ingrid just now can kill Susanoo, but he can't hurt him in the slightest. Thinking like this, Patrick not only did not join the fight, but instead hid further. In his opinion, the alliance is over for such a powerful enemy, so quickly clear the relationship, and now it is a fool to rush. At this moment, Qin Yang walked slowly towards the White Emperor, traveling through the sea of clouds, as if entering a realm of no one. At this moment, in the sea of clouds, a figure rushed out and intercepted in front. The Emperor of Boxing appeared suddenly, his brows were filled with anger, and now he was a head-on blow. The fist is powerful, and the punch hits, as if blocking the surrounding space. Emperor Qin, he shouted angrily, tiger crash fist. Roar. Qinyang seemed to see a fierce tiger roaring at him, opening his mouth to bite. Although it was said that it would save your life, you are too small. Qinyang looked calm. Instead of retreating, he advanced, and his left hand grabbed the opponent violently. Puff. The fist first made contact with Qinyang's left hand, however, this imposing punch directly shattered the palm of the hand, and the fleshy palm turned into black smoke repeatedly. What? The boxer looked startled, and the next moment, he felt his breathing stagnate, and his neck was pinched. At this time, the fist burst. Boom. With one punch, Qinyang's entire body collapsed and scattered into a cloud of black smoke. And the black smoke quickly condensed. The first thing that appeared was the left hand, which was condensed between the neck of the fist emperor. As soon as it appeared, he immediately grabbed it and lifted it firmly. Excessive, don't think I really can't kill you. In the soft voice, Qinyang's collapsed body slowly condensed and formed. Cough. The boxer grabbed Qinyang's left wrist and said incredulously, "You're Logia." No, impossible. Even Logia used armament for the blow just now, so the fluid can't escape. Ignorance. Don't compare Logia's fluid to my shadow. The shadow flow control of the shadow demon naturally includes the ability of shadow body. In the world, except for those with shadow fruit ability who do not know whether they are dead or alive, there is basically nothing that can hurt him. What's more, he is a 1-star illusory god, and the shadow demon is only a 2-star. His shadow flow control, in Qinyang's hands, can exert a 4-star power, which is much stronger than that of the shadow demon. Not only the shadow flow control of the shadow demon, but all the other transformation skills, in Qinyang's hands, can exert a 4-star combat power. $0. Example, the Lich Kings, Frost, Uchiha Itachi's, Susanoo, the super intuition of the 10 Kings, and Ibaraki Doji's Black Flame. Carrot. These transformations are either 2-star or star rated, not as good as 1-star phantom gods. It can be said that as long as their skills are in Qinyang's hands, they are stronger than the real ones. Just like the previous Susanoo, if Uchiha Itachi were to use it, it would be difficult to withstand the full force of the fist, but Qinyang could. His pupil strength was stronger, of course, the consumption was also greater. In short, a 1-star phantom god is probably a 4-star general transformation, and any skill in the hands of a 1-star phantom god is a 4-star combat power. This is the passive skill of the main body, and this is the power of the illusory god. As long as there are enough transformations, Phantom God can have countless skills, and even with 1-star power, he can kill 5-star sea dragons. Monster. The Quan Emperor gritted his teeth and immediately wanted to break free. It's just that the neck is strangled. If you want to escape, there are still ways. As a fighter, and he is still at the level of a person, when such a weakness is controlled, how to escape, of course, has a wealth of experience. However, Qinyang would not give him such an opportunity. You'd better become an ice sculpture. Ka ka ka. The power of frost spread out from the palm of his hand, and in an instant, the entire body of the Fist Emperor was frozen into an ice sculpture. That is the power to seal the soul together, and the consciousness of the Fist Emperor fell into an infinite stagnation. Boom. Qinyang withdrew his left hand and threw the ice sculpture aside. Then he slowly raised his head and looked at Emperor Bai above the sea of clouds, another one. You monster. In addition to being furious, Emperor Bai couldn't help feeling frightened. I thought that breaking the half-body monster outside the opponent's body would give him a chance to defeat Emperor Qin, but in fact, Susanoo was actually defeated, but he released the stronger monster inside. You can't fight him. At the juncture of life and death, Emperor Bai calmed down again. His strength is at least 4 emperors. 1-on-1, I have no chance of winning. I can only escape. His thoughts turned, and various schemes kept flashing. Turning around and flying away like this is definitely not acceptable. The sea dragon in the sky is eyeing it, and it is also a monster of the 4th Emperor level. At this moment, Emperor Bai felt a sense of powerlessness. Facing 4 emperors and a former Shichibukai alone, it was simply heaven and earth, and there was nowhere to escape. HMPH, do you think this can trap me? Bai Di was not desperate, his eyes flickered, it seems that the corpse can't be wanted. Thinking of this, he looked down at Qin Yang and suddenly put out a palm. Cloud palm. Boom. The clouds surged and turned into a white hand that covered the sky, surpassing Qin Yang and knocking it down. Do you only dare to attack from a distance? Qin Yang chuckled lightly, put away the dragon blood guagong, and then greeted him with the palm of his right hand. Black flame. The rising black flame, under Qin Yang's palm, immediately greeted it. The flame almost covered the sky and directly wrapped the whole big white cloud. The fire of hell burns everything. But at this moment, Emperor Bai suddenly turned around and waved his arms. Suddenly, the white clouds in the entire sky were stirred. Big cloud world. Suddenly, a white cloud layer that was more terrifying than the sea of clouds appeared over the flame island. It seems that the world has turned white, the clouds are thick, and the dark clouds gathered by the sea dragon are all shrouded in one fell swoop. This spectacular scene can be clearly seen even from 100 miles away. It was a sky, and the whole child turned into a white world. Ha ha ha, Emperor Qin, sooner or later, I will avenge this time. You wait for me. Laughing wildly, Emperor Bai's voice contained murderous intent, but he didn't linger, instead he fled in a flash. This is his only chance. The sea dragon in the sky is trapped by the great cloud realm, but it is at most a few seconds, and he must escape for the first time. Flying cloud rocket. Suddenly, Bai Di's body turned into a white rocket, the tail of the arrow was like an engine, and white smoke was spewed out, and suddenly he was ready to speed up to escape. I don't know how many times he used this trick to escape. He was only a rookie pirate. When the reward was less than 100 million, he escaped from Sengoku Admiral several times, and Sengoku couldn't do anything about him. He. Suddenly, laughter came, and Qin Yang said, "You are insidious and cunning. I knew you were going to run. Did I think I would be unprepared?" While speaking, his gaze penetrated the spatial distance, and the focus fell on Bai Di. The next moment, the pupils shrank, and the pupil power passed directly through the line of sight. Amaterasu. Puff. The black inextinguishable fire devoured the White Emperor's flying cloud rocket in an instant. Then, screams came. This what kind of fire is this? Chapter 0172 _ Are you planting yourself or sending you on your way? Second update. The New Year update is not easy. Ask for some automatic comfort hollow square Above the sky, the flying cloud rocket ignited a black flame. Amaterasu fire never goes out until the target is completely dead. This what kind of flame is this? Bai Di's screams came out. Even if he was in a fluid state, this attack could burn him. At this moment, it is no longer possible to maintain the form of Feiyan rocket, and the whole person becomes an irregular white cloud, falling from the sky with black smoke. Boom! With a muffled sound, Bai Di fell fiercely, and he returned to his adult form, rolling on the ground, trying to put out Amaterasu. Don't waste your energy, you can't put out this flame. Qin Yang walked slowly and said calmly. Damn it! Bai Di shouted. I admit defeat. Qin Di, I admit defeat. Put out the flames. Go out. Why go out? The old god Qin Yang was there, calmly looking at the White Emperor who was constantly mourning. If you take an emperor's name, you are already guilty of death. I gave you a chance, as long as you can defeat me, you can do it. Spare your life. Of course, this is not possible. Unless 2-4 emperor-level powerhouses attacked him at the same time, it is almost impossible to win him, and the shadow alone is enough to give the opponent a headache. Possibly knowing that her death was not long, Bai Di Gloria no longer begged for mercy, but instead laughed wildly. I admit it. Pirates above this crazy sea will always die one day. Either they are caught by marine and locked up for a lifetime, or they are destroyed by other powerful pirate groups. What's more, they encounter 473 new the unpredictable natural trend of the world. Emperor Qin, you will die too. I am waiting for you in hell. After a shrill roar, Baidi's voice gradually lost his breath. He was like a corpse, lying directly on the ground, motionless. Amaterasu is still burning, and it will not be extinguished unless his body is burnt to ashes. A dignified admiral-level pirate died so suffocating. Qin looked at each other calmly, but he had no interest in whipping the corpse. After confirming that the other party had lost his breath, he used the shaker to withdraw the Amaterasu flame. Not far away, Patrick was sweating with fright. This kind of strange and unpredictable attack, like killing someone with one look, is too shocking. He couldn't understand how the flame of Amaterasu appeared, only that Qin glanced at the other party, and Baidi started to spontaneously ignite. All the escape plans were perfect. Even if Whitebeard did this again, it would be difficult to stop the White Emperor who wanted to escape. However, standing here as the Dream Captain, the leader of a group of monsters. You are left. Suddenly, Qin turned around and walked towards Patrick. Entei, are you planting yourself, or am I sending you on your way? You. Hearing this, Patrick was taken aback and had no will to fight. He said in a panic, Emperor Qin, I misunderstood. This old man is just suffering from a calamity. This old man has absolutely no dreams with you. The meaning of being an enemy, I dare not give this old man 10 courage. The name, Entei, was imposed by these idiots on the old man, and the old man didn't like it. After a pause, he looked at Qin Gujing Wubo's face, and hurriedly cursed, the idiots of the Alliance, if you know that you dream and they have a grudge against them, you don't need to take action at all, the old one can't spare them. He said fiercely, his heart was full of bitterness. If I had known that the Dream Captain was so terrible, he should have killed the group of Baidi as soon as possible. Without this group of people to find him, he is still leisurely in front of the Emperor of the Flame Island. Wouldn't it be nice to have 1 or 2 countries add to the fun and loot at the same time? It's not like this moment. I have to worry about my own life, for fear that the person in front of me will be unhappy, and a look in his eyes will attract a black fire and burn him alive. Plant it yourself. Qin said in a low voice, walked to the dining table, sat down, picked up a piece of fruit and opened his mouth to enjoy it. The battle was fierce before, but the main table of the open-air banquet was still safe. When he heard this, Patrick's face darkened and his heart became more bitter. Qin Emperor, Lord Qin Emperor, this old man really doesn't mean to be your enemy. A big man like you can't be embarrassed by this old man, right? He said cautiously. He would definitely not be able to beat him. Besides, there was a sea dragon on top of his head, and a huge 9-tailed demon fox not far behind him. He couldn't escape, he couldn't fight, Patrick could only beg for mercy. You want to live? Qin said playfully. It's not impossible to live. Seriously, you really haven't joined the Alliance yet. That's right, that's right, this old man will never join such a stupid organization as the Alliance. Emperor Qin, if you have any requests, feel free to speak up, this old man can offer all his treasures. He looted a country before, and this old man is willing to give 10 billion. Patrick said quickly. Really? Qin nodded, but said, you think I'm short of money? If you want to survive, you can, donate 5 devil fruits. Suddenly, his words stopped. Huh. Patrick was waiting for the verdict of his fate, but suddenly found that Qin was silent, and immediately fixed his eyes on it. I saw Qin face showing surprise, staring blankly at the fruit plate on the dining table. This is the only fruit bowl, the rest of the fruit bowls have been smashed. In the fruit bowl, an apple-shaped fruit is undergoing strange changes. Spiral patterns began to appear on its surface, as if flowering and fruiting. In a short period of time, it changed from a fruit to a devil fruit. What is this? Qin suddenly looked sideways, stared at Patrick, and said, "How did this devil fruit appear?" It's hard not to notice the changes happening under his nose. "No, I don't know," Patrick said blankly. "This is the first time I have seen this old man." The two of them looked at the fruit. The whole body was snow white, the skin was strange, and it was covered with the unique spiral pattern of devil fruit. "Huan, scan," Qin Yang ordered immediately. "Scanning, the scanning is over. The mysterious power is found, the direction is straight ahead, the distance is 30 centimeters. This is real." Qin Yang's eyes flashed with surprise. At this moment, Patrick suddenly remembered something, and said, "Actually, this old man has heard such a rumor about a devil fruit person. Say, you should also be clear that a person cannot eat two fruits at the same time, because the two devils in the body will fight with each other and then explode and die. Say the point." Qin Yang frowned. "The next thing is the point," Patrick quickly said. "It is rumored that after the death of the capable person, the devil in the body will leave, and then find the nearest fruit to lodge, and that fruit will become a new devil fruit." After he finished speaking, he glanced at Qin Yang, shook his head and said, "However, it's just a rumor, the authenticity is not reliable. After all, although there are many capable people, they are not luxurious enough to be caught and killed and used for experiments." After listening to this sentence in a daze, Qin Yang reached out and touched the snow-white fruit. "This should be the Logia white cloud fruit, right? The one eaten by Emperor Bai," he murmured in a low voice, then got up and walked towards Patrick. "You said just now that there are so few capable people that you can't have the luxury to use them for experiments. The experimental subject, isn't it right in front of you? Qin Yang has a good idea. If the rumor is true, he may be able to gain unimaginable benefits in this new world chaos. What do you want to do?" Patrick sensed a trace of murderous intent. His face turned pale immediately, and his anger rose from his heart. This guy actually wanted to kill him for an experiment. Chapter 0173_Annihilate All. Automatic subscriptions. What do you want to do? Patrick's face was extremely ugly. After listening to the rumors he said, Qin Yang actually wanted to kill him for the first time, and did an experiment with this. Damn it, you were ruthless. Aware of Qin Yang's approach, Patrick had no intention of fighting at all, and Vivi stepped back. The next moment, the whole person was pressurized in his body, and then he turned around and fled. His speed burst out all of a sudden, even dozens of meters in a blink of an eye, and in the blink of an eye, he had already run 100 meters away. Is this the real level? Qin Yang didn't bother to chase, and stood calmly on the spot. I fought before and deliberately hid, but now that the situation is not good, I can't care about it. Heilong. As soon as the voice fell, the sea dragon that had been hovering in the sky suddenly moved. His claws tore through the clouds, and with a flick of the dragon's tail, it came down in an instant and stopped above Patrick's head. Benlong is here, where do you want to escape? Hearing this, Patrick was shocked and said in awe, what a fast speed. This guy is really a sea dragon, not a heavenly dragon. Heilong has such a high speed in the sky, if it is in the sea, it is unimaginable. Patrick didn't think about going to war, he stopped, and immediately turned around. At this moment, there was a tremor from the ground, and the nine-tailed demon fox suddenly stopped in front of him as he ran. Juya, my hands are itchy, don't run away and play with Juya. With a loud laugh, the nine-tailed demon fox ignited a white flame. Demon Fox God Fire. This is a flame that directly hits the soul, and it does not have the characteristics of spreading. At this moment, the nine-tailed demon fox immediately slapped it with a paw. Seeing this, Patrick was furious. Heilong is very powerful, he can't beat him, and the Captain Chindi is even more strange, he can't beat the same, and the nine-tailed demon fox in front of him, he doesn't believe, he can't beat it. Get out of the way for this old man. In the roar, Patrick made no reservations, and punched the nine-tailed giant claw. Pyroblast. His right arm turned red, covered with armament hockey, and struck with all his might, as if to shatter the space. Boom! The claws collided with the fists, and there was an immediate explosion. All the heat, up to tens of thousands of degrees of heat, was poured out at once, and an impact like a huge amount of gunpowder exploded in an instant. Even Qin Yang, who was 800 meters away, could feel his eardrums hurt by the sound of the explosion. The big pirate's death-defying counterattack is really strong. He rubbed his ears and shook his head. Nine-tailed probably won't feel well either. Of course, that guy is even more uncomfortable. After one blow, the nine-tailed demon fox was forced to retreat, but he was an energy body, no matter how powerful the explosion was. But Patrick vomited blood. The whole person was wrapped in the demon fox divine fire, and flew upside down with a scream. Ah, what kind of flame is this? He was burned and rolled on the floor, screaming in pain. The demon fox god fire didn't hurt his body at all, but his soul was burned continuously, and he couldn't even defend himself. Pages. NGT. Twice. The next moment, the nine-tailed demon fox got close again. The claws pressed Patrick to the ground, the huge head came close, and its mouth was split open, revealing a terrifying slap of fangs. Ninth Master, my flame, unlike the Phoenix Marco, can instantly repair wounds, and it can't spread and burn like ordinary flames, but it can directly burn the soul. Let me guess, you can last for 3 minutes. You bastards, what grudges does this old man have with you? While screaming in pain, Patrick roared angrily. Nine-tailed demon fox said in surprise, this question is very interesting. Don't you often loot other countries? You have thousands of lives at your fingertips, and they don't have any grudge against you, right? Pause. He smiled and said, don't complain about grievances, you are just a link in the food chain, the big fish eats the small fish. Although you stand relatively high in the chain, when you meet my dream, what's the difference between fish and shrimp? Patrick seemed to accept his fate, clenching his teeth. It's just that the demon fox fire continued to burn his soul, but within 5 minutes, he was too weak to maintain his consciousness and fell into a deep sleep. Hey, I can hold on for 5 more minutes, but my willpower is very strong. With a chuckle, the nine-tailed demon fox grabbed Patrick and walked towards Qin Yang. With a bang, he threw Patrick's body in front of Qin Yang and said, here you are. Qin Yang nodded, didn't you die? I'm not dead, I'm just very weak, just leave it like this, and I'll wake up after 10 days and a half months. I see, come back. Qin Yang drew out the dragon's blood, and pierced Patrick's chest with a sword. At the same time, the nine-tailed demon fox and the sea dragon turned into 2 streams of light, and with a swoosh, they submerged into Qin Yang's body. Suddenly, Qin Yang felt that he had 2 more abilities. One is the tailed beast jade of the nine-tailed demon fox. Second, Heilong's calling for wind and rain. Not only that, in addition to 2 more skills, Qin Yang felt that his physique also became stronger. In particular, the return of the 5-star sea dragon to the body of the phantom god has simply raised a grade abruptly. This is my current heyday. Feeling the power in his body, Qin Yang whispered to himself, Super 4 Emperor level combat power. Whitebeard, Kaido, Red Hair, any of them are not his opponents at the moment, even 3-on-1, Qin Yang dares to fight, as for the result, only God knows. Let's look at the experimental results first. Shaking his head, Qin Yang was not intoxicated by his own power. He looked at Patrick to confirm that the other party was dead, and then paid attention to the fruit bowl. There is also a grape, 3 apples, several pears, and several other unknown fruits in the fruit tray. Magic, start scanning, keep it up. Continuously scan, observe the changes around. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Neither the fruit nor the corpse has changed. Qin Yang couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Strange, could it be that the fruit is of the wrong type? Or, the devil is also a picky eater and only likes a certain kind of fruit? It doesn't feel right. It may be a matter of probability, or it will take a certain amount of time. This, Doflamingo, and even Blackbeard should know, just ask sometime. Putting this matter aside for now, Qin reached out and picked up the white fruit. Not surprisingly, this should be the white cloud fruit of the White Emperor, Logia. Of course, Logia was no different to him. Is it used to raise stars? Qin pondered, thinking about how to deal with it. One fruit is definitely not enough to raise a star. Of course, you can save it first. However, there are already 5-star sea dragons, and the combat power is sufficient. It is not easy for other transformations to be full of stars. Compared with this, it is a good choice to start a new transformation. Forget it for the time being, let's put it aside for now, and think about it when we figure out the problem of this experiment. Qin shook his head, took out a phone bug from his pocket, and dialed a number familiarly. Hello. Doflamingo, I will give you 3 days, and you will come to Fire Island for me. As soon as he opened his mouth, Qin was too lazy to talk nonsense. If you don't arrive in 3 days, I'll go and uproot your Don Quixote family. You bastard, you are very arrogant. Doflamingo said in a bad tone on the other end of the phone. Who are you? The name of this Emperor Qin. Qin. Doflamingo frowned, then his expression changed suddenly. Dream Captain. He was startled, his hair stood on end in an instant, and cold sweat suddenly covered his shoulders. Hell, the dreamy captain appeared. At this moment, Doflamingo thought of the Big Mom pirates that collapsed inexplicably some time ago. Shouldn't it be this guy made his move? Chapter 0174_Scary Doflamingo. Open black lens bracket first update close black lens bracket. Big Mom pirates. Doflamingo couldn't help guessing. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. As far as the top forces he knows, besides the mysterious group of murderers like Dream, who else can destroy a 4-emperor pirates group in such a short period of time? When he heard that the dreamy captain wanted to see him, Doflamingo couldn't help being a little nervous, whether it was evil or good. The cooperation between me and them has never been a problem. It should not kill me. Thinking like this, Doflamingo grinned and said, Fur, is it Fire Island? Although I don't know what it is, I'll be there in 3 days. Qin nodded and hung up the phone directly. Next, Qin continued to observe the changes in the fruit plate. He was very patient and slowly spent time with the devil fruit. Time flies, 3 days in a blink of an eye. 3 days, Qin exercised his phantom body control, while waiting for Doflamingo's arrival. During the period, he released the Fist Emperor by the way. Now that the alliance has been destroyed, this guy is not a capable person. It is useless to stay here. It is not even worth killing and doing experiments. Remnant Party. 3 days later, in the early morning, a figure stepped out of the sky. Doflamingo didn't take a boat, and it was too late to get to Flame Island by boat. He could only move in a straight line from the air, which was the fastest. The whole person is like a cheetah, with all 4s lying on the ground, going in the sky. After entering the waters near Flaming Island, Doflamingo discovered an amazing scene. It's actually raining here. How is that possible? This place won't rain for 10 years. There is a dead air in the air, and from a high altitude, you can see the large square in the center of the island, which has turned into a piece of ice. Seeing this scene, Doflamingo immediately thought of Cake Island and the deep-sea prison. This time, he became more and more certain that it was definitely a dream. The guy with this frost ability, in addition to Kuzan, is only the Lich King. This is the Flame Pirates. Doflamingo landed in the center of the square and stood in the midst of the ice. He immediately saw countless pirates who were frozen, including several officials of the Flame Pirates. Did they get into a dream? As he walked away, Doflamingo couldn't help muttering, "It's so miserable, judging from the expressions of these people, I'm afraid everything was frozen in an instant." Speaking of this, he thought of the director of the deep-sea prison. The man was frozen by the Lich King. Marine exhausted all means, and it took half a month to make contact with the frozen. As a result, the blue python inside was already dead. The person who shoots is stronger than the Admiral class, at least Kuzan can't do it. freezing so many people in an instant. When he walked to the center of the square, his pupils shrank suddenly. At a banquet table, the great pirate Patrick fell to the sky with blood on his chest, apparently dead. Not only him, but in another location, there was a charred corpse that was barely recognizable. It was the White Emperor who subverted the alliance of 4 emperors, an admiral-level master. In addition, there was a corpse lying in a pool of blood. That person was the Sword Emperor, one of the most famous swordsmen in the world. Doflamingo took a deep breath. The 3 big pirates died in the same place. What happened here? Of these 3 people, none of them is weaker than him, and some of them are even stronger. Among them, the White Emperor is a fiercer in the New World, with a bounty of 1 billion, belonging to one of the top pirates. The Flame Pirates are also good. Marine tried to exterminate many times, but each time ended in failure. The rain was pouring down. Like Doflamingo's mood at the moment, there is an inexplicable horror. You're here. Suddenly, a voice sounded not far from the side. In an instant, Doflamingo's hair stood on end, and the whole person quickly pulled away for a distance, and at the same time, his eyes were frightened. I saw a young man sitting cross-legged and slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes were as calm as water, and just looking at them, Doflamingo felt a sense of crisis deep in his bones. This man is very strong. He is by no means an opponent. This is an intuition accumulated over a long period of battle. How is this possible? My observation hockey didn't even notice his existence. The distance is only 30 or 50 meters, such a close distance, let alone observation hockey, even the eyes can see. However, Doflamingo failed to notice that the man was sitting there as if he was not there, as if he was not in the same dimension. If it wasn't for his eyes to see clearly, he even wondered if he was paranoid. Who are you? In the silence, Doflamingo said softly. He was a little frightened, his whole body was shot down, tense and trembling, and he didn't dare to make any rash moves. I called you here. Chinyong said calmly. He slowly got up and walked to the dining table. Come here. You are the Captain Chin. Doflamingo was taken aback. You did this. What do you think? Chinyong glanced at him playfully. Don't be nervous, I won't kill people for no reason, it's just that these few people offended me. Hearing this, Doflamingo felt cold all over his body, and his sense of terror not only did not subside, but instead became stronger. The first encounter with Dream was with the 9-tailed demon fox. Although he couldn't beat the fox, he could resist if he wanted to run. Then came the marine prison, where he was attacked by the sea dragon. At that time, he had a deep understanding of the power of the dream. A cadre dominated, and he was so strong that he could not compete at all. But today, when he saw the dreamy mysterious captain, he was even more fortunate. Fortunately, this kind of person was not an enemy, otherwise he would not be able to sleep well. For Captain Chin. Doflamingo laughed dryly and said, what's the matter with me? 2 things. Chinyong didn't waste any time and said directly. The first one, there is a rumor about devil fruit, and the second one, I'm going to suppress the New World pirates who are rioting in the Big Mom Sea area. Next, he explained the details again. What do you know about this rumor? Chinyong asked at the end. So this is it. Doflamingo didn't hide it and laughed in a low voice. First of all, this rumor is true, although not many people know about it. Second, this method can indeed plunder the fruits of those who are capable. Chinyong raised his eyebrows. Then why, Patrick's hot fruit is not reborn? The method is wrong. Doflamingo shook his head and said, the specific operation method is still not known exactly, only that it is not a 100% probability. After the ability person dies, the devil will escape, or stay in the nearest on a piece of fruit, or directly reborn elsewhere in the world. Quote. A pause, he added. If you want to let the devil live on the fruit, you must first of all have the correct type, the closest distance, and the length of time is not certain. You know a lot. Chinyong was noncommittal. I'm not just messing around, the intelligence network is still very confident. Doflamingo laughed dryly. Then the second question. I want to suppress the pirates rioting in the New World. What can you do to get this group of people together? It's too troublesome to open the door one by one. Qin Yang asked again. Hearing this, Doflamingo's mouth twitched. Emperors would not dare to face countless pirate groups alone. A 4-emperor level to deal with 3 admiral level at the same time, it is almost the limit, such as a soft persimmon, like red hair, can't beat a pair of 3, even Kaido is a headache. Among the rioting pirates today, there are more than 1 or 2 admiral rank. However, when he thought about it, there was an admiral-level white emperor lying on the ground. If you want to besiege the rioting pirates, I have recently mastered a move that can trap people on an island at once. Doflamingo grinned and suddenly had an idea. As for the method, it's not difficult. As long as there is an incentive, the pirates will like sharks smelling fishy, and they will rush forward. Detailed. Qin Yang cherished his words like gold. What in the world is more fascinating than the great treasure left behind by One Piece, King of Pirates? Hearing this, Qin Yang laughed immediately. As expected of a professional pirate, the way to trick people in his mind is really handy. Chapter 0175_8th Change Holy Archangel. Open black lens bracket second update tilde close black lens bracket. One Piece King of Pirates Gol D. Roger left a sentence temporarily, which opened the era of the Great Pirate. Countless strong men poured into the Great Route to pursue the legendary Great Treasure, One Piece. All pirates will be interested in this secret treasure. As long as they find it, they can get all the power, wealth, fame, and status in the world. Doflamingo's proposal to lure the rioting big pirates with a big secret treasure is a feasible plan. However, does anyone believe this kind of thing? Qin Yang thought about it and said, no one is a fool to be able to live in the New World. Of course, you don't have to worry about this, I can spread the information. Doflamingo grinned and said, for human beings are always going to be stupid. They will be suspicious of free rumors, but they think it's worth the money for paid information. Huh. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and had to admire this guy. He was going to sell false information as true information. Doflamingo has an intelligence organization, of course Qin Yang knows this. Just do this kind of thing, and the intelligence organization will be finished in the future. As if seeing Qin Yang's doubts, Doflamingo said in a low voice, I'm not stupid, the intelligence organization has nothing to do with the King Shichibukai Doflamingo. One will do. Quote. Really dare to start, Tush 15. Qin Yang thought silently in his heart, and finally came to a simple conclusion that Doflamingo was trying to please him. Are you so afraid of me? Qin Yang said playfully, I'm just asking, what's your plan? You've even figured out the specific operation method, and you're doing it all by yourself. Are you afraid that I'll kill you? I'm not so cruel. Not brutal. If I don't come to Fire Island within 3 days, the Don Quixote family will be over. Doflamingo's face darkened, and he was full of slander in his heart. He remembered clearly what Qin Yang had threatened him with before. Thinking like this, he said in a deep voice, of course I'm afraid. With your dream cooperation, I have to worry about whether there will be any problems at any time. The Don Quixote family doesn't want to collapse inexplicably overnight like the Big Mom pirates. Quote. Don't worry, your performance is not bad. Qin Yang chuckled and patted Doflamingo on the shoulder. This made Doflamingo tense all over, for fear that the other party would suddenly shoot. However, compared to this action, Qin Yang did not deny the Big Mom pirate group, and suddenly made Doflamingo realize that it seemed that the 4 Emperors pirates group had really been wiped out in a dream. Taking a deep breath, Doflamingo calmed down and said, if that's the case, then use this for false information. Big Mom has information about the great secret treasure, so he caused disaster. At present, the information on the great secret treasure, also hidden somewhere in Cake Island. Quote. This information is very interesting. The destruction by a certain force was summarized as a disaster. The big secret treasure was changed to the relevant information of the big secret treasure, and then it was hidden in the Cake Island. When those pirates heard the news, I'm afraid they couldn't help but take a look at it. Maybe even digging 3 feet in the ground, trying to find it. How? At the end, Doflamingo asked for advice. It's not a big problem, you said it very well. Then I'll go to inform my subordinates to sell it. As for the price, of course, it must be worthy of the status of a big secret treasure. Doflamingo laughed treacherously. It seems that I can make a lot of money. In this regard, Qin Yang was speechless. By the way, this preparation is left to you. As if suddenly remembering something, Doflamingo moved his finger, and suddenly a box fell from the sky. I use thread and thread to hang this thing in the sky. Reaching out to catch the box, Doflamingo immediately opened it, and there were 2 devil fruits inside. This is the fruit collected during this time. It cost 750 million, please pay. Seeing this, Qin Yang's eyes lit up. He would not refuse the devil fruit. When he was about to take out the fruit in the box and confirm that it was correct, he raised his chin and said, "Did you see it?" "What? Corpse?" Qin Yang let out a low laugh and said, "The White Emperor Gloria has a bounty of 1 billion, the Sword Emperor Ingrid has a bounty of 770 million, and Captain Patrick of the Flame Pirates has a bounty of 910 million. The total is 910 million. 2.68 billion. Underscore. This guy is going to pay for the corpse." Doflamingo opened his mouth, but he had nothing to say. "I'll erase the fraction and count him as 2.7 billion. Qin Yang said calmly, "Go to Marine to collect the bounty for the corpse, and deposit the remaining money with you, and continue to use it to help me collect fruits." Okay. Doflamingo shook his head, but did not dare to disagree. Why doesn't it feel right to exchange a devil fruit for a corpse, and is it rounded up? 2.68 billion, which directly became 2.7 billion. Forget it, it's only 20 million. Deliberately biting the word, just, Doflamingo turned to deal with the corpse. The 3 corpses had been dead for 3 days, and they smelled slightly, but at this moment, he could only endure it and tied it with string fruit. Then, nothing else, I'll go first. The information will be disseminated as quickly as possible. It is expected that in the next week, many pirates will gather on Cake Island. After leaving a sentence, Doflamingo jumped up and flew away. He used the string fruit to catch the flying clouds in the sky, so that he could walk in the air, and at the same time, he used the air step similar to the moon step to move quickly. Watching the other party go away, Qin Yang retracted his gaze and looked at the devil fruit in his hand. One is banana shape, the other is durian, it looks like zone and paramesha. There are 3 fruits now. Qin Yang thought, you can upgrade to a transformation. Just thinking about it, the sound of fantasy jeans came out of my mind. Qin Yang, I suggest you use it to start a new transformation. Huh, it's rare, you take the initiative to talk to me. Qin Yang replied in surprise, I feel like you are different. Because the sea dragon has risen to 5 stars, the fusion of genes with you is deeper. Fantasy gene is still emotionless, but said mechanically, the deeper the fusion, the stronger the transformation you can unlock. What do you mean? You should know that there is a gap between Sea Dragon and the rest of the transformations, right? Fantasy Gene said. Now that the fusion between genes and you is deeper, the transformation that can be activated has a great probability, although it is impossible to be 100%, but 100% 80 or 90, there will be sea dragons with huge potential. Quote. Qin Yang rolled his eyes, how about the 7th change before? It was still in the process of fusion at that time. You were impatient. Fantasy Gene said. From now on, every time you start a new transformation, you need to consume the mysterious power of 3 devil fruits, and at the same time, the rewards you get will be higher. Big. Sure enough, it's different. Qin Yang smiled and said, you talk a lot this time. Yes, because, evolved. Hearing this, Qin Yang's eyes flashed, and he nodded immediately. Since you said so, let's try it for now. Anyway, there are more ways to obtain devil fruits. As he said that, he stretched out his hand and pressed it on the 3 fruits. The next moment, a devouring force absorbed the mysterious power in the fruits. Mystical power nourishes the body, cells and genes make happy sounds. Qinyang was surprised to find that his body began to disintegrate. The first is the feet, which turn into tiny stars, like a swarm of fireflies in summer. What's the situation? Qinyang not only didn't feel any discomfort, but a stronger power began to appear. This transformation it seems to be very strong. Shuang's legs disappeared, followed by his hands, then his belly, and finally, his head and head together, completely turned into stars. The stars floated and rose high into the sky. The dark clouds of the flame island gradually dissipated, replaced by a layer of holy clouds of light. This cloud of light is incomparably huge, spreading out, 10 nautical miles, 100 nautical miles, 1,000 nautical miles. At this moment, half of the pirate planet, the entire New World, including North Blue, West Blue, and even half of the Red Earth continent, everyone looked up at the sky. Above that sky, the cloud of light that can't be seen to the end exudes a sacred and holy breath. This breath lasted for nearly an hour, and suddenly at a certain moment, the cloud of light cracked a big hole. Suddenly, a holy light was projected down, and then, a holy body within the holy light slowly condensed. At the same time, people on half the planet were bathed in holy light, as if at this moment, any negative emotions such as irritability, disease, and killing intent were keeping away from human beings. I don't know how many nuns and priests are praying to the sky, as if praying for world peace, me muttering that disasters are kept away from the world. This miraculous scene shocked the big figures in the world. Marine, 4 emperors, revolutionary army, pirates, world government, master of the major powers. They stared at the sky in silence, falling into an inexplicable sluggishness. At the same time, a voice sounded in Qinyang's mind. The 8th change, the Holy Archangel. Chapter 0176 _ The Holy Light is fooling you. The 3rd update for the sake of my hard work in the new year, give it an automatic, thank you ORZ. The cloud of light is holy and holy. In the pillar of holy light projected from the cloud, Qinyang's body slowly condensed, with his head, body, limbs, and 2 pairs of white wings behind him. 4-winged angel. At the same time, in Qinyang's mind, information about this transformation was conveyed. 8th change, Holy Archangel. Star rating. Ability 1, Feather of God. Ability 2, Holy Light. Ability 3, Unlocked. Ability 4, Unlocked. Ability 5, Unlocked. This time the Archangel. Qinyang felt the power of the holy light in his body, he couldn't help opening his eyes, and whispered to himself, what a surging power, is this a 2-star? Far surpassing the power of the other 2-star transformations, and even surpassing the 3-star 9-tailed demon fox. Suddenly, Qinyang found himself naked, and immediately thought, the power of the holy light poured out of his body. Immediately, the Archangel became more and more sacred, with white light all over his body, and after a while, the power faded away. At this time, Qinyang was already wearing a golden light armor manifested by the power of the holy light. Can Shengguang be used like this? Qinyang muttered to himself in surprise, then flapped his wings and began to master God's feather, to learn how to fly. He is now at an altitude of more than 20,000 meters, and when he looks around, he can see most of the planet. Compared to the vast ocean of the entire planet, the sea area in the New World is only a few tenths of a %. And within these few tenths, there are countless strange islands, even though they are too small to see clearly. While Qinyang was familiar with the power of the new phantom body, all parts of the world were shaken by this miracle. Holy Land, Mariajoy. The holy place located 10,000 meters above the sea can be said to be one of the closest places to the manifestation of miracles. At this moment, on the top floor of the World Government Building, above a clock tower more than 500 meters high, Gorosei 5 elders looked at a cloud of light in the northwest direction one after another. Within the cloud of light, a huge figure could be vaguely seen. Against the backdrop of the cloud of holy light, the figure looked extremely noble. He seemed to stand upright, with two pairs of huge wings on his back. Angel, the old man with the sword said solemnly. It is unimaginable, how could the angels in myths and legends exist? Occasionally, this happens. The shadow of the Sky Islander is projected on the clouds. From the great root, it is a big monster with a body of 10,000 meters. Another fat old man shook his head. Yes, there is indeed a pair of small wings on the back of the Sky Islander. This one should be special. There are two pairs. Don't lie to yourself. Suddenly, the old man with glowsy face narrowed his eyes. Aren't you ashamed at such an old age? Hearing this, several people were speechless. Then tell me, what's the situation? Angels come. There must be a limit to joking. Let's analyze it rationally. The location where the miracle appears is the new world of the Great Root. I won't be surprised if something weird happens in that place. Leave it alone. How can it be ignored? Let CP0 investigate. I think it may be a devil fruit person, and it is a new fruit that is not recorded on the devil fruit icon. No matter which one, it must be investigated clearly. In the end, the old man with the mustache made a solemn decision. This is a force that affects the absolute authority of the world government. It is much more serious than a pirate. The five were silent for a moment, all with heavy hearts. There are believers in all countries in the world. The appearance of angels and miracles, especially the light of the holy light, made each nun and priest walk out of the church, look up at the sky, put their hands on their chests, and pray extremely devoutly. O Almighty God, please bring peace to the world. Countless wishes converged into a torrent, heading in the direction of the cloud of holy light. Qin Yang was familiar with the ability of the archangel, and was about to descend, but found that a unique force was pouring in from all over the world. Faith. The power of belief is very special. Ordinary people can't see it, but Qin Yang can see it clearly. It is a light golden power. When you reach out and touch it a little, you can immediately perceive the prayers made by the master of this faith. Some hope for world peace, some hope that the archangel will cure diseases, some want to rectify droughts, some want to make a fortune, and some want to find wives. HMPH, I don't need faith. Get out. With a wave of Qin Yang's hand, he directly dissipated these messy beliefs and let them dissipate between heaven and earth. Although Qin Yang feels that absorbing the power of faith can make him a little stronger, but absorbing their faith requires him to be responsible for the power of faith, and it will be implicated in cause and effect, so he does not need to rely on the power of believers. I don't care about my messy beliefs, and my wishes for world peace. It doesn't matter to me if I can't marry a wife. You are also worthy of believing in me. Qin Yang dissipated all the power of belief in disgust, and then immediately lowered his altitude and flew towards the New World Sea area. And as he left, the cloud of holy light that covered almost half of the planet above the sky began to dissipate. It was only a quarter of an hour before and after, and everything seemed to return to dust to dust, and could no longer be seen. A new world, a sea somewhere. A huge pirate ship is slowly sailing above the sea. This ship has 3 decks and is more than 180 meters long, which is almost the size of 3 marine warships. On the deck, more than 600 pirates looked up at the sky with frenzied expressions. Algera, the miracle has begun to disappear. A pirate shouted. Ah, Almighty God, please listen to the voice of the most devout believers. The man known as Algera was in his 20s. He looked young, but he was ugly. His facial features were quite bizarre. He had a big mouth, small eyes, and a flat nose, as if the creator had played a joke on him. Ha ha, Algera, what is your wish? The angel may really grant your wish. My wish, of course, is to give me a wife. I have pursued more than 80 women, but all those women rejected me and thought I was ugly. HMPH, am I ugly? No, you are very handsome, and the captain said the same. Absolutely right. A pirate said with a smirk. Speaking of which, why hasn't the captain come back? It's been almost half a month. The Alliance is trying to kill the Red Hair, should it succeed now. Let's think about how to deal with the revenge of the Red Hair pirates. A group of people were talking, and suddenly someone widened their eyes, pointed to the sky, and said, "What is that?" Something fell. The crowd stared and narrowed their eyes. I saw a small spot of light above the sky, like a falling meteor, and suddenly hit the sea in front of me. Boom! In only 3 or 5 seconds before and after, the figure from 1,000 meters away had already landed on the sea surface, setting off a huge wave, causing the pirate ship to sway continuously. To be precise, the figure did not fall into the ocean, but suddenly stopped on the sea surface, and the 2 pairs of white and sacred wings spread out, maintaining the balance of the body. I didn't control the speed, and almost rushed into the sea. Qin controlled the feathers of God, and secretly said in his heart, "Sure enough, I haven't mastered it yet." The flying speed of the Archangel is not comparable to that of the Sea Dragon, it's too fast. The Sea Dragon is the dragon of the ocean, and it is not good at flying. Compared with the Archangel, the speed is not a little bit worse. Just as he was thinking, a frantic voice suddenly sounded from the pirate ship ahead. "Angel." Huh. Qin raised his eyebrows and looked intently, only to see hundreds of pirates standing together, all looking over here. "Master Angel, did you cause the miracle just now?" One of them widened his eyes and looked excited. "I am the leader of the Holy Cult Pirates, Algera, your most devout believer." Holy Sect Pirates. Qin was stunned. Just killed their captain, God, Meredith some time ago. However, thinking about it, he is an archangel now, and the other party doesn't know it anyway, but fortunately, he is not in a hurry. "Yes, I sense the existence of believers, and this is how I came to the world." As he spoke, Qin exuded the power of holy light, and suddenly, the whole person became extremely holy. This time, a group of pirates became more and more excited. At this time, a relatively stable pirate suddenly spoke up and said, "Lord Angel, you know everything. I would like to ask, where is our captain now? He has been out of contact for half a month." "Your captain Meridine." "Yes, you really know everything. He went to heaven." Qin said calmly. "Don't you go to heaven if you die. Anyway, that guy dared to call himself God." Qin felt that he didn't lie at all. After a pause, he added, "If you also want to ascend to heaven, I am willing to help you, for the sake of your piety." Chapter 0177 _ May the Holy Light Fool You too. Open black lens bracket first update close black lens bracket. If you also want to go to heaven, I can help you, for you are so religious. Qin said softly. The power of the holy light circulated in his body, and his whole body emitted a hazy white light, making it impossible to see the appearance, and it looked extremely sacred. Hearing this, the pirates couldn't help being a little sluggish, and it took a while before someone recovered. "My lord, does heaven really exist? If you believe it, you have it. If you don't believe it, you don't have it." Qin said nonsense in a serious manner. How could he know whether there is a heaven or not, and it has nothing to do with him. However, this kind of magic trick is very useful to a group of pirates. "Of course the kingdom of God exists," Algera said with a dark frenzy and a firm conviction. "The captain has already gone to heaven, which is really enviable." "Heaven. It is said that there is all the beauty in the world. Lord Angel, I am willing to ascend to heaven." Another pirate looked respectful, intoxicated in fantasy. Those who can join the holy cult pirates are all religious believers, but the degree of religious belief is different. A cadre like Algera is naturally an absolute fanatic. As an archangel, Qin could clearly see the power of faith emanating from these people, and among them, the ones who spoke were the strongest. "Okay, since you are willing to go to TN 390 Hall, I will give you a ride." Immediately, Qin tone was solemn, the holy light all over his body rose greatly, and his whole body was radiant. "May the light guide you." In an instant, the holy light shines, dispelling all evil in the world. Bathed under the holy light, all pirates felt their spirit sublimated, their thoughts were mastered, their bodies were light, their steps were frivolous, and they were floating, like birds with wings, ready to ascend to the legendary kingdom of God at any time. He, may the holy light fool you. Qin Yang laughed in his heart, but his face did not change at all. The power of the holy light changed slightly, and in the gentleness, there was a hint of murderous intent. These unsuspecting pirates were obliterated before they knew it. The more they yearned for heaven, the faster they died at this moment. The holy light is just an introduction to let those people die naturally and stop their hearts. This seems to be a powerful scene, but the actual consumption is minimal. For a long time, when the holy light dissipated, the white world returned to peace. At this moment, on the deck of the pirate ship, more than 500 pirates have fallen. They all had happy expressions until they died, as if they had seen the gate of heaven before dying. Huh! Suddenly, Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, and he was surprised to find that some of the power of the holy light appeared on these dead pirates. These powers have no master, are pure, and are completely different from the messy power of faith. They flock to Qin Yang and are absorbed and assimilated by his power of holy light. Killing these believers, purifying their souls, there is even a feedback of the power of the holy light. Killing was originally a consumption of holy energy, although it did not consume much, but now there is feedback, which makes Qin Yang stronger. It turns out that the souls of these pirates are purified by holy light, and the rest is pure soul power, which is then easily absorbed by me. This discovery immediately surprised Qin Yang. However, putting this aside for now, he continued to look at the remaining pirates on the deck, who were only 50 or 60, 1/10 of the original number. At this time, these people opened their eyes, and they all looked shocked when they found that everyone around them had fallen. Lord Angel. They have ascended to heaven. Qin Yang said calmly, your beliefs are not pious enough to enter the kingdom of God. This is not deceitful. If you want to kill the believers silently and with low consumption, only those who are more devout can only be those who are more devout. The rest are fake believers. Of course, there are a few exceptions, such as the Qadri Aljara, whose strength will far surpass other pirates. Even if he is a mad believer, Qin Yang can't kill him silently like other people. People like this can only be killed with hard power. Aljara. Thinking of this, he suddenly had a good idea. You are sinful, and the holy light can't purify your soul. If you want to enter heaven, you can only wash away your sins. Hearing this, Aljara hurriedly said, I must have killed too many people. A few days ago, a merchant ship was engulfed by the storm I brought in. I knew that Lord Angel would show up. I should have let them go. Although they call me ugly. Inviting a storm. Qin Yang Vivi was startled. Are you a devil fruit person? I am the fruit of misfortune, and any target touched by my right hand will suffer misfortune. Aljara said helplessly, Sir Angel, how can I wash away my sins? He was the one Unikal was talking about. Qin Yang suddenly realized that after he killed God Meredith on Three Fingers Island some time ago, Unikal reminded him to pay attention to a cadre of the holy cult pirates. Since this is the case, make use of the waste. Anyway, this guy's combat power is not bad. As soon as he thought about it, Qin Yang said calmly, Aljara, you group of people have sinned deeply. There is only one way to go to heaven. That is the devil fruit. Devil fruit is the power of the devil, you go and find it. Well, find enough, and call me again, and then I will purify the demons and let you enter the mountain of heaven. As soon as Qin Yang pointed it out, the holy light suddenly shone, and a shot sank into Aljara's body. This holy light will guide you. When you find a sufficient number of fruits, call me in your heart and I will appear. The holy light did not enter the body, and Aljara immediately felt a lot warmer, and was immediately overjoyed. This is I am favored by the holy light, I am the chosen one. He said enthusiastically. It's just a mark, adding a little warmer power. Qin Yang slandered from the bottom of his heart, and felt sympathy for this person's appearance and IQ. Just heard Aljara continue, please rest assured, Lord Angel, I will definitely find the devil fruit. This is, I don't know how many I need. How many? Qin Yang snorted, adding the shock of the power of holy light, which directly shocked people. Your piety is not enough, you shouldn't ask. When you think it is enough, call me again. Otherwise, you after death, you will only fall into endless hell, and then God will stop talking about you. Quote. Seeing the angel's anger, a group of people suddenly became frightened. The companions around had already entered heaven with happy expressions. Of course, they didn't want to go to hell after death, so they all glared at Algera. Although they were not religious enough, they were believers after all, and they did not doubt the words of the angels at all. With all that said, you can do it for yourself. Qin Yang fluttered his wings, the feather of God radiated light, and the next moment, the whole person turned into a white streamer, and flew away in an instant. Whoosh! The eyes of everyone consciously flashed, and the angel disappeared in the blink of an eye. Algera, a pirate murmured, shouldn't we be dreaming? Ha 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 ha. Algera laughed wildly. I am the Holy Family, the chosen one. Let's go and find the devil fruits. I must first give enough Lord Angel to become a resident of heaven. Chapter 0178_Holy Light Spear. A bunch of idiots. Flying away from the holy cult pirates at high speed, Qin Yang shook his head as he soared. Religion kills people. Being fooled casually, Qin Yang didn't have time to show his eloquence, but it was better, he didn't bother to talk about some things. Algera was injected with holy light by him, and as long as he was still in the new world, he could perceive the existence of the other party. Therefore, he is not worried that he can't find the other party, but just hopes that the guy can be a little stronger and find one or two more fruits. Just give him a month, and then we'll see the situation. Now Tilda here, go to Cake Island first. I've got and flew away at a high speed. I saw a pure white streamer flashing from the sky, and disappeared into the clouds in the blink of an eye. Hours later, the sun went down. Qin Yang stopped abruptly. He looked suspiciously at the surrounding sea area. This is a restricted area for navigation without wind and waves, and there are large sea kings infested. These are all windless belts, and it seems that they are flying in the wrong direction. In the New World, any sailing experience is useless, and the only thing that can be trusted is the recording pointer. Of course, the Sea Dragon is special, it is the master of the ocean, and the general orientation can be discerned in the sea. It's a little troublesome if the speed is too fast. If you don't pay attention, you will fly the wrong way, and you will fly so far. Forget it, it's still early anyway, let's practice new abilities. Thinking of this, Qin Yang glanced over, found an uninhabited island, and came directly to the past. This small island, worthy of the name, is not comparable to a slightly larger human village, and there are only a few big trees on the island. After Qin Yang landed, he sat down with his knees crossed, and then entered a unique state of cultivation. As long as he closes his eyes, he can feel the power of holy light surging in his body. When the eighth change first appeared, the holy light shrouded almost half of the world. Unfortunately, the body of a two-star archangel could not absorb all, but only 1/10,000th of it. I'm very full. For half a day, he has been in a state of being overwhelmed. Now that he is flying in the wrong direction, fortunately, he will digest it first. Condense the huge power of holy light in the body. While Qin Yang was cultivating, there was a prosperous town in the Meteor Archipelago, in the chaotic sea area of the New World. In a small corner of town, where the poor can even be said to gather, there is an unremarkable alley with a divination hut. At this moment, in the divination hut, a conservative young girl covered her face and looked calmly at the group of pirates at the table. There are not many pirates, only 4, but among the 4, the one with the lowest bounty has exceeded 300 million, and the highest has even exceeded 1 billion. At this moment, the leader of the pirate captain hummed, "Come on, I have no time to waste with you. What kind of information is it worth your intelligence organization in the dark world to specially inform me?" Tilda. The face-covered young girl shook her head and said, "Don't worry, the intelligence value this time is very high. If you want to hear it, hand over 50 million first. J. What did you say? A pirate with fangs behind the captain, not a pure human being, heard this, and immediately looked at each other angrily. 50 million. Believe it or not, I demolished your broken house. Boss, this bitch is courting death, let me kill her. Shut up, Pollock. The captain waved his hand and decisively took out a bankbook of 50 million. I hope your information is valuable, otherwise, you will die immediately. Of course, I don't dare to fool you. The young girl was very calm. Obviously, this kind of transaction was not the first time. She put away the passbook, then took out a box and handed it out. This is the information this time. The pirate captain snatched it away, snorted coldly, opened the long shaft-shaped box, took out the intelligence documents inside and looked at it. At a glance, his complexion suddenly changed, his eyes lit up, and then he flashed fiercely. Are you sure this is true? Not guaranteed. What is the disaster? What force did the Big Mom pirates destroy? No comment. You bastard. A cadre immediately slapped the table angrily, playing with our storm pirates. It seems that you all want to be destroyed. Don't be impulsive. The captain stopped the rioting subordinates again. She is just a small person and should not know more top-secret information. If I guess correctly, you also know the specific content of the disaster, but you don't know how much it will cost. After a moment of silence, the young girl whispered a shocking number, 10 billion. If afraid of angering the other party, she hurriedly said, this is top-secret intelligence. I don't know what it is. Hearing this suddenly, even the captain himself showed murderous intent. He knows that this intelligence organization is very large, but for their storm pirates, if they want to destroy it, they can do it. However, the captain still did not have the impulse. He could not follow the knowledge of selling intelligence. On the contrary, the face-covered young girl smiled bitterly inwardly, and her body vivi trembled. The Meteorite Islands are the only peaceful place in the chaotic sea, but the rules that do not allow fighting are only for ordinary pirates, and for the storm pirates, the rules are different. She knew that the 10 billion offer would anger the other party, but she couldn't help it. This is the order from above. The top didn't want to sell it at all, but just deliberately released such a price. The specific reason is not something she can guess. Last question. At this time, the captain said calmly, how much did you sell for this information? At a price of 50 million, there won't be many buyers. Hearing this, the girl finally breathed a sigh of relief and said softly, you three pirate groups, Storm, Unicorn, Lance, we are in contact at the same time. In addition, there are many intelligence sales in the New World. Before she could finish her words, the captain of the storm pirates in front of him abruptly stood up, gave him a vicious look, and walked away. If I miss the big secret treasure, I will definitely uproot you when I come back. Group of 4 walked out of the hut, and a cadre couldn't help but said, Captain, is this true? It's about the big secret treasure. Even if it's fake, we have to go there in person. The captain said vigorously, and immediately said, I wasted time with that woman, we have to hurry up and get ahead of the others. If it's fake, just go to Big Mom Sea Swallow. Such scenes are happening all over the New World, and dozens of big pirates are flocking to Cake Island. The secret cooperation between Doflamingo and Chinyang made the riotous New World go further. So much so that even the 4 emperors Kaido got this relevant information. A windless zone, a small island. Chinyang sat cross-legged, holy light shining all over his body, but this time, the power of holy light seemed more peaceful and purer. In the dark night, he is like a sun, attracting all creatures around him. On the sea outside the island, dozens of huge sea kings stared down at this tiny, winged human. The smallest of these windless sea kings is 300 meters long, 10 times larger than ordinary ships, while the largest is nearly 3,000 meters long. In its huge cracked mouth, just one tooth is the size of a marine warship. At this moment, Chinyang opened his eyes impatiently and looked annoyed at the sea area ahead. It's so noisy. It's been yelling in my ear. He stood up slowly, and his right hand held a void, and suddenly, a holy light spear condensed out. Get out of here. In the scolding, Qin Yang threw the holy light spear violently. With a swoosh, the holy light spear pierced out, and the next moment, it exploded with a bang, and the powerful holy light power devoured everything within a few thousand meters in an instant. Chapter 0179 say it and scare you to death. Open black lens bracket the third update .. close black lens bracket. The condensed power of holy light turned into a long spear, and with Qin Yang's throw, it quickly pierced towards the largest sea king. It was a huge creature in the shape of a sea snake, with a length of nearly 3,000 meters, making it a target of attack. Whoosh! The holy light spear pierced the head of the huge creature at once, as easily as cutting tofu. The hard skin of the Sea King's body was completely unable to defend against the piercing of the holy light spear. The next moment, a harsh roar sounded. The Sea King's eyes showed fierce light, and it was obviously provoked, but before it could take revenge, the holy light spear that entered its body suddenly exploded. The huge body instantly turned into pieces of flesh and blood, and the holy light spread away, annihilating all creatures, and within a few thousand meters, it completely turned into a white world. The spherical explosion range even vaporized the seawater in one breath. These dozens of sea kings were completely unaware of the danger. When they sensed something was wrong, the holy light had already swallowed them up. Boom! Immediately, huge waves were set off on the entire sea. Qin Yang stood on a rock on the island, looking calmly at the waves. This big wave was shot, and before it touched Qin Yang's body, it was blocked by a holy light barrier. After a long time, the big wave caused by the explosion passed, but the scene in front of him couldn't help moving Qin Yang's expression. I saw that in the vast sea in front of me, a spoonful of it seemed to be dug out by some huge mighty force, and all kinds of corpses were scattered and floating in it, looking extremely miserable. The sea returned and began to fill the huge gap. Qin Yang stared blankly for a while, and couldn't help but mutter to himself, "What a mighty power I almost swept me into it. If it was aimed at the town, it would wipe out the entire town in one breath." Dozens of sea kings, under this shot, turned into a pile of minced meat, floating on the sea, telling the tragic scene before. Shaking his head, Qin Yang ignored such trivial matters. He continued to sit down cross-legged, condensing the holy light in his body. A week later, Cake Island. The Cake Island used to be composed of big cakes and cream, and even the buildings were mostly in the shape of desserts. Today, Cake Island has changed a lot. It has become Iceland. The temperature is below freezing, and the cold wind blows all day. It is difficult for ordinary people to walk on the island. The fatal low temperature alone can freeze people to death. After Qin Yang defeated the Big Mom pirates, the station of the Four Emperors Charlotte Linlin was abandoned. But in recent days, pirates have landed one after another. At the original port location, no less than 40 or 50 pirate ships have docked. These are still pirates who landed on the island in an upright manner. The rest of the ordinary pirate groups dare not park their ships in such a conspicuous place. Therefore, the actual point is estimated. Today's Cake Island has gathered more than 100 pirate groups. You must know that the pirate group that gathered at the Two Emperors station on Guadal Island at the time was only 80 or 90, not as good as it is now. Moreover, there will be more pirates coming in the future. This day, noon. Above the sky, tomorrow hangs high, but the island is cold, and the cold wind is howling. The major pirate groups on the island are searching for something. They are not afraid of the cold, and they are diligently digging for the treasures in the ruins. Where there are people, there will inevitably be disputes, and since everyone is a pirate, conflicts will inevitably arise. In front of a big frozen house, two pirates clashed. The captains of both sides were hostile to each other, and they all believed that this place belonged to them, but not far away, more pirates were eyeing and watching. Qin Yang was one of the onlookers. Flew here from the windless belt near West Blue today, and after he landed quietly, he put away his wings and light armor, and walked among the marines with a human appearance. Looking at the two pirates from afar, Qinyang suddenly felt bored. Why don't you fight? If you can solve things with fists, why do you want to talk? Hearing this, a young pirate wrapped in a thick velvet robe smiled and said, they dare not fight, there are so many people around, they are happy to take advantage of it. Qinyang raised his eyebrows. Who are you? Well, the young man was stunned. Aren't you asking me just now? Who asked you? Qinyang glanced at him, and in his perception, this person has a strong physique and a strong breath. He is probably the strongest among the hundreds of pirates present. It is precisely because of this that Qinyang deliberately approached this person. He suspected that this person was a devil fruit person, and wondered if he would find a place to kill him later, so as to plunder the opponent's fruit ability. When he came to Cake Island, on the one hand, he was going to catch all the pirates and suppress them all. On the other hand, he naturally wanted to kill some capable people and plunder the fruits. For this reason, before entering the Cake Island, Qinyang deliberately bought a large number of fruits, all kinds and everything. At this time, the young man muttered, "It's arrogant, young man, don't worry about it in other places, in this place, you should be careful to be killed." Today's Cake Island is really as numerous as tens of millions of pirates. Over 100 million pirates walk all over the place. There are hundreds of pirate captains alone, and each one has a bounty of more than 100 million. Counting some combatants and powerful cadres, at least 200 or 300 million pirates. In this place, more than 500 million pirates can barely shake and show their prestige. However, Qinyang couldn't help but be happy when he heard the young man's words. Although it is not yet time to close the net, if someone provokes him, he doesn't mind shooting him to death. According to your words, you seem to be very powerful. Qinyang asked, what pirate group are you? Speak out and scare you to death. Young man, Hihi Isho, said, I'm from the Sky Pirates, a combatant, Daros, with a bounty of 300 million. 300 million. Qinyang nodded. This bounty is also a fighter in the 4 Emperor Pirates. Of course, it is not as good as a cadre. The cadre should say it is 80,900 million, or even more than 1 billion. Wait, air pirates. Suddenly, Qinyang came back to his senses, under the command of the great pirate Golden Lion. Hearing this, Darustan grinned. That's right, recently, the Flying Sky Pirates came back, and the great pirate Golden Lion swallowed a large piece of territory. I've only joined it not long ago, otherwise I must be the deputy captain. After a pause, he said vigorously, looking at you, it's not too long since you entered the New World, right? As a senior, I advise you that people should not look at their appearance. Today's Cake Island is a playground for a group of monsters, so don't mess around. Speak up, provoke some strong people. He deliberately emphasized the word, strong, obviously referring to himself. Qinyang smiled. I also want to advise you that you shouldn't look like a person. For example, do you know who I am? Say it and scare you to death. He thought this guy was very interesting, and temporarily extinguished his thoughts of killing the other party. Who are you? Daros was stunned. For some reason, he had a bad feeling in his heart. What pirate group are you from? I'm from, Qinyang opened his mouth and said silently, Dream. Although there was no sound, Daros still understood from the mouth shape. He froze all over, and the whole person seemed to be locked in the body, and it took a while for him to laugh twice. Brother, are you kidding me? I won't be frightened by a mere name. When he said this, the names of several characters appeared in his mind. Shadow Demon, ordinary member, with a bounty of 500 million, record, sneaked into the Holy Land to assassinate Tenryubito, success. Ibaraki, a regular member, fights an admiral and escapes. Nine-tailed demon fox, Kadri, Shichibukai, the former king, wounded 2 admirals. The king of knights, the Kadri, and the great swordsman, defeated Charlotte Cracker, one of the 4 generals of the Big Mom pirate group, and wounded the opponent, causing him to flee in embarrassment. Heilong, the ruler of the ocean, One of the cadres, with a bounty of 1 billion, once sniped the Marine fleet with one person, and forced Marine to retreat, making Sengoku confess his counsel, and then mixed into the war between the two emperors and forced the 4 emperors' Big Mom to retreat. Chin, Captain, everything is a mystery. Thinking of this, Daros shuddered, looking at Chin Yang's playful eyes, and suddenly laughed. Big brother, I was just kidding you. You must not take it seriously. Chapter 0180-5 Powers. First update, sorry for being a little late. Hollow Square. Daros was really taken aback. The Dream Pirates, this is a very mysterious organization, and there are many rumors circulating. But one thing is certain, that is, this pirate group is very strong. The ocean ruler Halong has the combat power of the 4 emperors, and their captain is even more mysterious. Of course, this is not the key. What really shocked him was that the person in front of him came from a dream. You must know that there are not many members of Dream. They seem to be pirates who follow the elite line and cannot stand alone. They are not even qualified to join. Therefore, any pirates from Dream, whether they are cadres or ordinary members, all are strong. At this moment, he looked at Chin Yang with a smirk and said, "Brother, I was just joking, don't take it seriously." He. Chin Yang chuckled twice. He didn't expect the Dream name to be so easy to use. Even a 300 million pirate was so frightened that he would admit it. I ask you a few questions, and you answer them well. You ask, I can answer, I'll be happy to answer. Daros said generously. He even had a different idea. At present, he belongs to the Flying Sky Pirates, and the captain is the great pirate Golden Lion, a former 4 emperor level powerhouse. However, in the past 10 years, Golden Lion's actual strength has regressed, especially the loss of his legs, which greatly reduced his strength. Although there is still the prestige of Golden Lion, it is no longer considered the 4th emperor level. In the past 6 months, the Dream Pirates have become famous, and there are countless internal masters. Captain Chin is a mysterious dragon who lives in the minds of others. Comparing the two, it is obvious that the Dream is more promising. The Flying Sky Pirates are no longer available. The former is the rising sun, and the latter has already begun to fade. Daros was thinking about how to jump to the Dream Pirates. Of course, the premise is that the person in front of him is really from a dream, and he is not sure yet. Chin Yang didn't care about Daros's thoughts and said bluntly, "How many days have you been on this island?" "I was the first group of pirates to land, and I've been there for 4 days." "Then tell me, looking at the situation on main island, which pirates are worth noting?" He. Daros snorted and showed a smile that I understood. "So that's the case, you are also here to find the big secret treasure." "Don't talk nonsense, let you introduce the situation." "Well, I understand, let's first understand who the opponents are. There are more than 100 pirates on the island, but they can be roughly divided into 5 major forces." Next, Daros briefly introduced what he knew. The 5 major forces are not a single pirate group. The first is the Storm Pirates, currently located at the port of the island. The place is occupied by them. It is an elite pirate group. There are only 18 people including the captain, but they have 12 pirates. Second, the Unicorn Pirates are currently entrenched in the center of Cake Island, which was originally the residence of Big Mom. This pirate group is relatively special, and currently the most powerful, with more than 20 pirate groups under its banner. Third, the Lance Pirates, whose captain is named Lance, is a handsome man of 27 or 18 years old. There is no pirate group under his command, nor does he accept allegiance from any pirate group. Including the captain, the number of people is only 13 people. In addition to these 3 big captains from the Chaotic Sea, it is our Flying Sky Pirates. Daedalus explained seriously. "You should know, the great pirate Golden Lion," he just stood up and shouted, "many pirate groups will be attached to him, and it is currently a major force, and it has temporarily accommodated 8 pirates. Band of thieves." Hearing this, Chin Yang nodded and asked, "Where's the 5th force?" This is more confusing. Daros spread his hands and said helplessly, "Do you think that the two pirate groups in front of you have the opportunity to quarrel? If it weren't for the existence of the fifth largest force, these pirate groups has long been expelled by the unicorns." Quote. This is true. It's about the big secret treasure. Generally, if a pirate group wants to enter the Cake Island, there is no chance at all, unless there is a huge force behind it. So, what is the fifth power? I don't know. Daros shook his head. Anyway, it's a mystery. It is estimated that those pirates have united and formed an alliance temporarily. I don't know what the specific situation is. This explanation barely makes sense. However, a small Cake Island, entrenched in the five major forces, the situation is more complicated than imagined. Doflamingo is really capable, Qinyong thought helplessly. This is not to gather the riotous pirates, but to detonate the pirates that had not yet rioted. The attraction of big secret treasures to pirates is evident. It was just a piece of news that could not be determined whether it was true or false, and it led to more than 100 pirate groups. This is only 1 week. However, Qinyong is also completely true. Aside from some rabble, he can directly transform into a sea dragon, and with the power of the Super Four Emperors, he strongly suppresses these people. Just thinking about it, the two pirate groups in front suddenly fought. Finally fighting, Daros sneered, this is the boundary of the territory of the Lance Pirates. If there is trouble here, they will soon die. Really? The old god Qinyong was there, watching quietly. The two pirates were just fighting each other, but he was looking forward to it, which could lead to a little confusion. Since that's the case, I'll help you add fire. With a secret thought in his heart, Qinyang's right hand flicked. Immediately, a force of holy light flew out and submerged into a captain's body in a very secretive route. In an instant, the captain felt a tyrannical aura, his murderous aura soared, and he suddenly burst into flames. You guys are really courting death. You dare to grab our territory and kill them all for me. He yelled and rushed over first. Many onlookers noticed this scene, and they were all a little stunned. Although they didn't notice the holy light, they still felt a little bit of disobedience. Qinyong smiled without saying a word, he just used a little holy light to suppress the negative emotions in others. It is equivalent to a little stimulation. Shengguang is not an opponent of negative emotions, and he immediately draws out those killing intentions. Suddenly, chaos began to spread, and a large group of onlookers had to retreat a few hundred meters to make room for the group to fight. Seeing that both sides were red-eyed, at this moment, a voice came from the direction of the ice and snow forest. Don't make trouble, get out. Between the words, the ground suddenly began to wriggle at the feet of the pirate captain, as if it had turned into a thick liquid. Qinyong raised his eyebrows and stared intently. I saw the earth suddenly dyed blood red and turned into a huge bloody hand, pinching the pirate captain who was the first to kill. No, the captain of the ship 330 shouted in horror, this is the border. Lance. Boom. Bloody Vivi squeezed the man to death. Crash, as soon as a person dies, the bloody hands collapse and flow back to the ground, turning into gravel and ice block again. Awakening, Qinyong thought in surprise. If it can directly affect things other than those who are capable, it should be the second stage of being capable, awakening. Besides, the distance is very far. The scene was quiet for a while, and it seemed that they were all shocked by this bloody scene. Daros gritted his teeth and said, the one who shot is the captain of the Lance Pirates, Lance Progel, the person with the ability of blood and blood fruit, the second stage awakening of Paramesha, the bounty 1.095 billion. More than 1 billion pirates, it must reach the admiral level, and it is also a level that a single admiral cannot deal with. So that's the case, is this guy the leader of one of the 5 major forces? And it's just a 13-member pirate group. A pirate captain with a value of over 100 million was shot to death when he turned over, and he couldn't even see where the other party was. Thinking of this, Qinyong walked towards the ice and snow forest. Brother, where are you going? Daros said incredulously with wide eyes. Where? Qinyong was stunned, looked back at him, and said calmly, "Go and see the 5 major forces. You better not follow me, you're 3-legged cat, I have no interest in saving you." Saying that, he didn't bother to pay attention to the other party, so he directly crossed the border and entered the territory of the Lance Pirates. Behind him, Darustan was dumbfounded. As expected of a member of the Dream Pirates, he is a daring artist and dares to join alone. That's more than 1 billion big pirates.